What's going on, guys? I'll be with you in just a second. Just sharing out the live, so make sure to tap and share the live too, please. I'm coming. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for your patience. I was just sharing out the live. If I could ask y'all beautiful people to do the same, tap the screen, share the live out. Let's get as many people in here as possible today. I would like to debate. One second. I am looking for a debate today. And today the topic is self-ID was the ones that let AGP into the LGBT community. And I know that sounds like a rhyme, but I didn't intend it for it to be that way. Thank you so much for joining. So the three pictures that we have here are Tejo Trish, Adora, and Sage, the trans goddess. All very famous individuals on this platform, and are all AGP. Pink, come on up. What is going on, Pink?
Not too much. I was just waiting for you to finish your intro.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. What are your thoughts? How are you
Well, I
feeling?
think you already know some of my thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
but I just don't understand why so many people comment and have like this huge opinion about the LGBTQ community when you're not a part of it. Like, you're not a part of the community. Why do you have so much to say about a community that you're not a part of?
Well, do you think that autogynephiles should be recognized as part of the LGBTQ community?
No, because that has nothing to do with it.
Right. But then you would then understand the issue of these individuals, specifically these three, having a public forum, being aroused by the interactions that they're receiving by the individuals on their forum, as well as, being aroused by the affirmation that they gain by accessing
Well, what do
them.
you mean arouse? Like that's exaggerating. That's like really exaggerating. Like they don't get off on stating their voice and speaking up for themselves and speaking on the trans community.
Right, but what we're trying to do is disassociate the people who are AGP from the trans community, because ultimately, The self IDers have allowed these individuals to come in as a Trojan horse. And so the difference between affirming somebody with gender affirming care is that when
Mm-hmm.
we're affirming them, we're doing it to alleviate symptoms of distress, depression, or anxiety related to their dysphoria. But when it
So
comes
are
to
you anxious? Like, do you have anxiety about the trans community? Are you like because you're not supporting them. You're not like on the side, you're not wanting to see
Is
improvement. You're
somebody
wanting
obligated to support them?
I mean, no, you're not. You have your total right to not support them, but you don't have to belittle them and degrade them
Is
either.
is it belittling to tell the truth?
It's not the truth when it comes from ignorance.
Okay, so then what is the truth? Tell me the truth, please, since you say that it's what we're saying isn't the truth.
The truth is it's nobody's damn business. Like straight up. Like what me and my girlfriend do is nobody's business. Like she doesn't have to go around and tell everybody that oh, by the way, I'm trans. Like she doesn't have to do that if she doesn't want to.
Sure. So, Pink Razor, I agree with you that, like, yes, any private, intimate moments with you and whoever you're with are just that, they're private. But if you, let's say, went out into the middle of the street and started making out with each other, well, then you've put it now in public that the two of you are into each other, and people are going to draw conclusions for what they see in public. So it's the
So you
same with
saying that
this.
lesbians can't make out in
Uh,
public?
no, I'm just saying that what you put out in public, people are going to draw conclusions from. And it's the same with social media. If you ever get interested in reading a very interesting case, read Packingham versus North Carolina, in which the Supreme Court stated that social media is considered a public venue. So it's just the equivalent in cyberspace, anyways, it's the equivalent of walking into the middle of town square. So whatever you do online, whatever you post online, is the equivalent. And so if you put information out there about a specific culture or specific people doing certain things, well, then people are going to draw conclusions, and then also that's also going to draw criticism. So criticism is valid because no one's immune from criticism.
No, and I totally agree with you on that. It's just like, for example, like I was when I first got onto TikTok, when I very first got onto TikTok, I noticed that it was a lot about like Black Lives Matter kind of thing. And I don't know, I brought up something about in the indigenous community because I live in a city where they gifted the Pope a headdress. Anyway, very controversial. Nobody understands because they were not there, and I was there and I saw them do it. It was not from the Halloween store or the Spirit of Halloween store they said it was from. And I just want to know people's opinions on it. You have no idea how much hate I got because I'm not indigenous, so I have no right speaking about indigenous people or about their rights or about anything about them. And same with the black community. I'm not black, so I cannot talk about the black community. I cannot talk about their culture. I cannot talk about like there's just certain things that I
Well,
can't
if
talk
people put
about.
things out in public for
So like
about
I
the
don't
culture, you can
understand what
draw a conclusion.
yeah, so like I am
You know,
dating a
like
trans woman, so I'm a
yeah.
part of the
Sorry.
community. And I feel that, like, why are you guys talking about a community you're not a part of? You're not a part of the LGBTQ community. You're not a part of the trans community.
Well, Well, let me ask you something, Pink Razor. Since 2020, do you believe or think that there might be either some kind of effort to put this quite literally on almost every screen? Because I've noticed since 2020, this stuff is everywhere. You can't turn
It
on the screen
is,
without hearing about
especially
this
on
stuff.
TikTok. Yes, I mean, I'm gonna say
So,
on
so,
TikTok in general, it is all over TikTok, and it's actually like
right,
blowing my mind that all these like there's this one woman who goes live every day. She's like, "Let trans kids be trans" or something, and I have a problem with that. Like, I don't I support like trans people. I do. I'm a part of the community, but I feel like people are pushing it on their children now, and that is a problem. And like
sure.
that woman is a problem. And like just the fact that her best friend or something calls herself the cis queen or something, like, do you know how many people in the trans community actually don't support the word cis? Like, they actually don't support it. If you're a
Sure.
woman, the trans people have no problem saying that they're a trans woman. They have no problem. But like at the end of the day, like if somebody asks them what they identify as, because even I'm a woman, I'm a female, and I get asked what my pronouns are all the time when I go to restaurants. I'm asked what my pronouns are, even though you can fully tell that I'm a female. I get asked like, "What's your pronouns?" And I'm like, she, her, like, and they're like, "Oh, okay." And I'm like, as if, and then like she'd walk away, and I look at my mom, I'm like, as if she just said that though. Like,
Okay, but Pink Razor, do you understand the point that I'm making? My point is that if people are gonna put a lifestyle, a community, anything at all out into the public, people are going to draw conclusions, opinions, and criticisms. That's no any everyone and anyone's going to do that. So you can't say that anyone who puts stuff out in public is immune from this. Nobody is. You put it out there for everyone to see, people are going to draw those conclusions,
Love
criticisms,
these
opinions.
tiny dining. Sorry,
You
Tom.
don't think, like, I can tell you right now, I'm known for criticizing a lot of things, and then also I'm known to be criticized a lot. I get criticized a lot, and I know
same.
that is just the price that I pay for putting what I
True.
think out
Very
in
true.
public.
Judge
So,
and be judged. That's what it is.
For my tiny diниes.
well, and
So,
I'm just saying, it's only fair. I mean, you can't just put these people out in public and say that they're somehow immune from any criticism. That's just not fair. That's just not realistic because we all get criticized when we put our shit out in public, right?
mhm.
I think that also the individuals on these lives who talk a lot about like people and their, and their pronouns or whatever, I think those people should be held accountable. Like if you have a problem, tell them that you have a problem with that person. You know what I mean? You can't say that you have a problem with the whole trans community because there's maybe 10 or 12, trans people that are on here that, are seeking attention or trying to make cis a thing, like that kind of thing. Like those people are the people that should be called out.
I have a problem with the whole LGBTQT community, but I could rationally justify it.
Okay, and what is that?
Yeah, so I think homosexuality is not conducive to evolution because it stops us from our means to actually procreate and have offspring.
Oh God. Yeah, okay. Well, then there's people like that too who are
Okay, hold on, Pink. So you're saying that there are members who affiliate with the LGBTQ community who are problematic to the community themselves, correct?
I think
yes.
my argument's anyone who engages in homosexual practices goes
He was
against our
asking me.
evolutionary chain.
Okay, yeah, he was asking me, but
Yeah,
okay.
I'm asking Pink. One second, Dodge. Yeah, so you do identify that there are certain individuals who affiliate with the LGBT community who are problematic to the community itself, correct? And you believe that
I do believe that, yes.
that's via a way of communication, the language that they're using, or the language that they would like people to, or the language that they would like to compel people to use is, in your opinion, seen as problematic. Is that correct?
That means yes.
Okay, perfect. That's fine. Listen, there's individuals like that in every other group that exists within our society.
That is very true. That is very true. Like if you look, I mean, this guy is going to go about religion in a second. And I mean, there's people that believe that being gay is a sin and they straight up believe that those people are going to hell. And
Even
I don't,
appealing to religion. I'm literally appealing to naturalism.
you do realize that there are animals that are homosexuals. So like, how are
We
they going
are
to
animals,
reproduce?
and if you're gonna make that argument, there are animals that are cannibals too, and there's animals that engage
Yeah,
in
I don't
sexual
actually, I
relations.
don't, can I be honest about something? And I know you
So
guys are going to be like,
wait,
whoa,
wait, let me just
I
continue what
actually
I'm
don't
saying.
disagree
If
with
you're gonna use
cannibalism.
animals
Okay, yeah.
if you're gonna use animals, even though we're animals and we're part of the animal kingdom and we're on top of the food chain,
Yeah.
in animals in your sense, they engage in cannibalistic practices. They engage in incestual relations. So would you
Oh,
take that
that's
as an
wrong.
example?
I mean, I
Be
can't say.
consistent. No, be
I
consistent.
disagree. I
Please be
don't support
consistent.
it. I don't support it. I believe that it is
Okay.
evil. I
So
believe
take
that incest
retract
is
your
wrong,
argument
but it's
then.
happening
Retract what you
though.
said.
But it's happening.
No,
I
but
mean,
retract
have you
what you
guys
said
not?
if you want to be consistent, right? You have to be consistent in your approach.
Okay, you can't just like throw all of that down my throat, dude, at the same time. Okay, if you want to talk about cannibalism, there's cultures out there that still practice it,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it's usually like intruders or criminals that they actually eat. It's
It's
not.
not morally wrong though.
It's not just innocent people. I
Cannibalism's
know,
not
but it's
morally
not
wrong.
innocent people that they're eating. They're eating criminals. So I think that that is a form of vigilante, and I think that I don't
And
know.
that's fine.
I don't disagree with it.
Okay. But I mean, you clearly adopt the same position as me if you're conceding to my point, so there's nothing to speak about.
Okay.
All right. So moving forward to my next
Yeah, I
point.
just wanted to prove that. But it's good talking to you guys. I'm gonna drop down.
Thank you,
Have a good
Doug,
one.
for joining.
Blessed be.
So we've already identified that there, are particular individuals amongst certain groups in society that, make that particular group look bad through the means of communication, right? They use certain terms, they use certain phrases, they want people to be compelled to use that speech or capitulate to that speech. Okay.
Mhm.
But I'm talking specifically about another group of individuals who have made their way into the community, who are using that exact same language, but the outcome of the affirmation that they're receiving is the polar opposite of the affirmation that individuals who suffer an incongruence or gender dysphoria would typically use to alleviate their symptoms. And I'll explain why. So as we know, there are transsexual individuals that are, part of society, and through development, they incurred an incongruence between their sex and gender, which ultimately led to years and years of psychotherapy as well as social transitioning, ultimately to qualify for the medicalization if needed, meaning if those treatments or therapies did not alleviate the dysphoric symptoms, then the individual would then be in line for a much more permanent schedule of treatment, aka hormone replacement therapy or SRS, sex reassignment surgery. Now, these individuals did all this work to assimilate to what society standards of what a woman was. And they did this so that they could simply fly underneath the radar. And society wanted to affirm these individuals for putting in the tremendous amount of work that they did to treat their dysphoria, and therefore bestowed pronouns such as she, her to those individuals in an effort to continue to alleviate that dysphoric or the dysphoria or symptoms of dysphoria. But the real issue now is simply allowing people who are not gender dysphoric to ID as trans. And this allowed a group of individuals who are known as autogynephiles to be able to take their closeted fetishes in private and take it outside into the real world and test the boundaries of how euphoric they can feel. And so I'll tell you, Pink, why
Okay,
I'm
I'm
here.
sorry. Can I just say something, please? Because I don't agree with you. Like, I
Right?
100% do not agree with you. You are talking about maybe 1% out of the 99% of trans people. And that's why everybody has a problem with it. Because, like, I understand that there are some people that fly under the radar. That goes for every community, that goes for every religion, that goes for every race. It goes through everybody.
Not necessarily,
What do
because
you
the entire.
mean, no?
Well, hold on, because the reason it doesn't work necessarily is because you have to look at the ideology itself. If the ideology itself is based on a large amount of subjectivity, then that means it relies strictly on the individual for their own personal worldview. That means that person can make whatever worldview they want, and it's somehow valid because we have to validate their subjectivity. Whereas then, if a worldview is based on objectivity, we have a means to say that they're wrong if it doesn't line up to what objective reality is. So
Yeah, but
that's the
like if you look at
difference.
the church, okay, if you look at the church, like the Pope, right? He's supposed to be God sent. He's supposed to be morally correct. He's supposed to be some walking saint, right? But they're not. And actually, their percentage of this 1% that you're talking about is actually more common in the Catholic Church than it is in any religion. So that's why I'm like, whoa, wait a second. Like, you guys are pointing out
Okay,
1% of the trans community. Why
hold
don't
on.
you look at the 70% of the Catholic community?
The
And
the
Pink,
Hold on,
Catholic.
you're
Hold
hold
on.
making
on. No,
you're
there's
making a very
way more
novel
AGP
mistake,
than there
though.
is regular trans. Like your own numbers prove that. They say less than 1% of people, both male and female, are actually trans. Over 2 to 4% of the male population are autogynephiles. Okay, so
wait, I'm
way more
sorry.
people are
No, no,
doing this
no.
for a
The
fetish.
percentage is more than that. It's like 20% actually.
No, 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 no,
Of
What?
males,
no, no.
20% of males are what did you say? I don't even know how to pronounce it.
Autogynephilic?
Well,
No.
whatever. I mean, sure, prove my
That is
point more if you
incorrect.
like,
So
but
let me clear that
Blanchard was
statement
saying
up.
2 to 4% of the male population are autogynephile. So this means that men who are doing this for a fetish are far more common than men who have dysphoria
Right,
for
But
because the
a
people
compared to
who
the
have
normative
trans
school.
community.
dysphoria, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sorry, I'll
Yeah.
shut up.
No
Sorry, we're
worries.
just talking over you.
No worries, no worries, no worries. The people who have dysphoria, the estimates are roughly 1% of the world's population, right? Autogynephilia is being reported in about 3% of Western country males born in Western countries or Western civilizations. So the number of trans people in Western civilizations is 2% less than the 3% of all males that exist in those societies who are demonstrating AGP behavior. I do want to finish one
And
very,
I'd say way more
yeah,
because like those are old statistics that like now with corn being so ubiquitous and like hypnosissy corn being a thing and like just there being and the ideology unleashing these men like who never would have like said anything or whatever, like it's probably way more than 2 to 4%.
let
Wait,
me
can I
just,
say one thing, Martha?
hold on,
Have
let
we
me,
talked before? Have we talked before? Didn't you say something
Yep.
about porn is like heroin or something? Did you say
uh
that?
no, I didn't say it was like heroin, but it's pretty addictive. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's like addicting like a drug, basically.
yeah, and
Yeah.
in the sense that you
Okay,
might
now I
also
remember
be
you.
looking for more aggressive or more impactful forms of pornography.
Yeah, more novel, shocking.
Rawr, I roar for my tiny dinies. Okay, for the individuals who are here, let me just take a quick break and do some introduction and whatnot. There are 122 beautiful souls in here. Thank you so much for joining. If you could please tap the screen and get the live to 10,000 likes to try and preserve the live, because with the photos of the individuals here, they will be coming to attack. In the chat, ever so often and periodically, L Trish, L Adora, L Sage, as many times as you can. Make sure to gift the people on the panel as well and show your support for them. For those of you
You
who,
don't got to gift to me. I don't care
that's fine. I
about that
appreciate you,
stuff.
Tony, but gift them anyways, for your support in them. What I do want to discuss today and give a little bit more detail is what AGP is. AGP stands for Autogynephilia. The origins of the word are Greek, which stands for or translates to love for oneself as a woman. This term was coined in the 1980s by Dr. Ray Blanchard, who was a sexologist, a North American sexologist, who had observed a particular behavior amongst male to female transsexuals and created a typology to distinguish the difference between the two male to female transsexuals. The first category was called the homosexual transsexuals. These are individuals who suffered an incongruence and went through years and years and years of painstaking therapy and medicalization to assimilate to society's standard of what a woman was. And these individuals typically transition at a much younger age. They dress to attract a male suitor. They always seek male suitors. Therefore, that's why
Can we light a candle for these people? Like these people went through trauma.
they did.
They went through like shock therapy.
Electroshock therapy and many other forms of archaic therapies as well. But nonetheless, there are still individuals today who are going through these painstaking surgeries to treat the dysphoria. However, their sexual orientation is always that being attracted to a male. So they are androphilic. Androphilic meaning having an attraction to male and male characteristics. The other type of male to female transsexual, Pink, I'm just going to put you on a mute for a quick second. The other form of male to female transsexuals are known as heterosexual transsexuals. And these individuals typically transition at a far later age. They are less passing as women because they have gone through the male puberty. And they maintain
How can
heterosexual.
you be heterosexual and transsexual at the same time?
Again, I'll explain in a moment. Okay? And so these individuals maintain relationships with women, not always in the romantic sense, but simply because they are enacting their fantasy by fantasizing over the particular sex characteristics of their partner and fantasizing about them having it or being their partner during the intimate scene of intimacy, excuse me, and they are visualizing themselves being penetrated by their masculine selves, therefore using their partner as a self gratification mechanism. The reason that we call them transsexuals, Pink, is because a lot of these individuals who have anatomical AGP are the ones who desire and are aroused by having anatomical features of a female. So oftentimes they will either transition fully, meaning gaining top and bottom surgery. In other instances where we have partial autogynephilia, these are individuals who desire to have the top characteristics of a female, but maintain and appreciate the bottom characteristics of their malehood. And so they don't actually desire to fully transition. Does that answer your question, Pink?
The
I think
more
she
you
was
know.
I think she was asking like how do you be heterosexual and
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
uh,
transsexual. That just means
I,
like you're transitioning, but you're still attracted to the same. You're still opposite sex attracted, right? Because we're in the real world where we don't believe in gender ideology. Same sex attraction is homosexual, or yeah, same sex attraction is homosexual, and opposite sex attraction is heterosexual, regardless of what you're doing with your surgeries or makeup or hormones or
right.
whatever.
now,
So
in recent studies, they're also showing that the individuals who are previously classified as heterosexual are also not only gynophilic, meaning they have an attraction to the female characteristics, but they are also ambiophilic, which means that they are attracted to a combination of both. And so when we see autogonophiles who make the claim about their sexual orientation that they are either bi, pansexual, asexual, or lesbian, really all it means is that when they desire females, it's for their body parts, and when they desire males, it's because they desire to play um, the feminine role in that interaction, in that intimate interaction, not because they are attracted, meaning they're not androphilic, having attraction to male parts, but they are more attracted to playing the role in that sexual act, being the bottom, or being pursued or courted as a female and then taking it to the physical level. Those are the things that autogonophiles are actually being stimulated over. They are being aroused. They are experiencing feelings of euphoria. And so, why I want to help individuals like Pink distinguish the difference between trans and autogonophiles is because autogonophiles will engage in non-consensual forms of communication and interaction with people in society. You might not know it, all right, but it's happening, right? Autogynephilia is a paraphilia, and it is one that is associated with other paraphilias such as exhibitionism, voyeurism, um, P3DOs. And if you think about all forms of interactions with those paraphilias, they are all non consensual forms in which those paraphilias are exhibited. And this is what I want you to
raw,
understand.
raw,
Yes,
raw.
yes.
This is incredibly informative, but I think realistically, a lot of these people watching got TikTok brain, so they probably stopped paying attention.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm back, by the way. I had to go.
No, 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 raw. That is incredibly informative. I think people want to see some back and forth. See, because look, even Pink freaking tuned out, went and go do something else. So, Pink, did you hear anything Raw said?
Yes, I heard the majority of it. Yes.
Okay, let me ask you something. What do you think about that? What do you think about what he said about people? Some of them want to want females specifically for the parts, and then they want to flip to seeking males specifically because they just want to play the female role or something of that sort. What do you think about that?
Like a switch couple, like a switch. Is that what you mean?
Well, he said he was describing the differences, and he said androphilic, autogynephilic, and then and you said androphilic.
No, so
Is
there's
andro?
androphilic, which is the attraction
Uh,
to male characteristics, gynophilic, which is the attraction to female characteristics, and ambiphilic, which is a combination of both.
Okay, because
right.
there are people that have both characteristics. I will say that. And I mean, like when you said heterosexuals, transsexuals, like how is that possible if they're not? Like how does that work?
Well,
Because
what is a
we know,
heterosexual?
I
A
just
heterosexual
explained
is
it to
somebody
you.
who's straight.
yeah,
I
So,
just
and
explained it
what
to
does that
you.
mean? Does that mean they're attracted to the opposite sex? Correct.
Yeah, I would assume. Yeah, I would
Okay,
assume
great.
so.
So, if you are a male who now identifies as a female, right? But you're attracted to females, are you lesbian or heterosexual?
See, that's you know what that's going into like my relationship, and I believe I'm a
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
lesbian.
whoa!
I'm a
I don't
lesbian.
care.
I'm attracted to women, and she is fully
Okay.
100% women presenting. She has top and bottom
Okay.
surgery.
Hold on. Pink, pink, pink. Like I don't. Like honestly, I don't have any feelings about. Like I don't know you. I don't know your relationship. So let's not make this personal. Let's just stick with the definition. If the definition of being hetero is opposite sex attraction, and somebody who is born male, do they ever stop being male, even if they decide to identify as female? Does that ever stop?
I think it does stop.
How?
That's why they have. That's why they take estrogen pills, and that's why they
Uh,
go through hormonal therapy.
you're telling me that when somebody takes estrogen pills, they're no longer male?
No, they have to go through hormonal therapy, of course. You
Okay,
know,
let's say
there's.
let's say they
Oh
go
my
through all
god.
the hormonal therapy, and then
Hmm.
let's say for some reason one day the pharmaceutical company shuts down and goes out of business, and they can no longer get those hormones. Are they still the female sex now that they can't get their hormone?
I mean, I don't see it changing. It's not like they're going to start wearing sweatpants and walking around with the baseball cap. You know what I mean? Like that's
Uh, okay,
not
so then
her attire.
Clothing
so
doesn't
then what
mean
makes you
sex.
what makes you the opposite? How can you be the opposite sex? Is it you just have to dress the opposite sex? You have to take the hormones of the opposite sex? What makes them the opposite sex?
I mean, she's had top and bottom surgery. You know, if somebody's had top and bottom surgery, I'm sorry, but they do qualify as a woman.
okay,
Like
so
she's a
Okay,
woman.
so
we
there.
gotta separate two
They
things
don't.
here. We have to
So I'm a
separate
lesbian.
two
I'm
things.
attracted to women.
Hold on. We gotta separate two things. We gotta separate gender identity and sexual orientation. All right, these are
Yes,
two
thank
different
you.
things. Okay,
Thank you.
first things first. What does homosexual mean as it relates to sexual orientation?
It means being attracted to the same sex. It means being
Oh,
attracted to the same gender.
perfect. What does heterosexual mean when we're speaking in the terms of sexual orientation?
Liking the opposite.
Okay. Now, when you and your partner walk out into society, all right, because of the medicalization your partner has done, they will likely be perceived as male,
As a
sorry, as
woman, no,
female,
no,
excuse
no.
me,
As a woman, they would be
as
perceived as a
female,
woman.
my bad, as
Yes. Okay.
female.
Yes.
And in society's eyes, all right, in the perception of society's eyes, that will be viewed as a homosexual relationship. In the eyes of society.
Thank you. Yes.
Reason being, Pink, you and I have spoken about this, is because they don't know the reality. Perception does not equal reality. All right. And if society was to learn the reality of the biological makeup between you and your partner, they would then correct themselves and say, oh, that is a heterosexual relationship, because although we recognize this trans woman to be emulating a female, now that we know that their biological makeup is that of a male, and that male is in a relationship with a female, that we know by definition that is a heterosexual relationship.
Okay, but you just contradicted what you said because
No,
the
he did
point
not.
is that yes, he did. He literally just said, "Let's
He bas-
separate
he
sex
bit
from
he
sexuality."
he made a distinction between the technicality and then the optics.
Okay,
Optically, you
but
can
it's
be fooled
because
by
they're not the
something, right?
same.
Visually, you can be fooled by something. That doesn't change the technical nature of it. So if somebody is born male, you can't change your DNA. Your DNA is always going to be your DNA. Yes, if I freaking, lose a hand, am I still human? Yeah. I lost a part of my human body, but I'm still human, right? So lopping off parts doesn't change what you are.
Okay, but you cannot go around saying that I'm in a heterosexual relationship when you know and everybody else in the society knows that I'm a lesbian. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because you look like you're on let's just like I don't know how to explain it. You look special basically. If you're going to go around and say that I'm a heterosexual and not understand that everybody else and me and I identify as a lesbian. Like it's the fact that you're just not accepting that I'm a lesbian. And it's basically like a slap in the face to me because you know what, gender actually
Who said
has
we were
nothing to
talking
do with
about your
sexuality.
relationship?
Well, I'm
So
talking
you,
about people in general. Like I'm talking to people in
well,
general. I know.
you keep saying my
Oh
relationship,
well,
my
because
relationship.
everybody knows about. I'm sorry, everybody in the chat knows me from previous
I'm just speaking in
lives.
general. I don't care to know the details of your private life. I don't need
Fair,
to know the
fair. Okay.
details of your private life. So if you're taking what we're saying generally and you're internalizing that some way, shape, or form, that's a you problem, not a me problem.
That's
Okay?
fair. I mean, that's fair. Yeah, I'm just, putting and also I empathize with people that are in also these kind of relationships. Like this one girl said that, I believe her name was Envy, right? Envy.
Hmm.
She said that she's a lesbian. So I
Yep.
asked her, since she's a lesbian, in your terms, right? That means that she's attracted to trans men who are biologically female who have a peen, right?
It means that she has a sexual attraction of that to the female sex. And so
Yes.
if
So that
envy,
includes
hold on,
trans
hold
men,
on,
does it
hold
not?
on, hold on.
Okay.
If envy had a sexual attraction for masculine presenting females, yes, there is a potential that a relationship could be had there. But envy, her particular um, preference is that of feminine presenting females.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
So do you see why we can't say that that is like, do you see why, because of your ideology, is that she's attracted to all females and that that's considered a lesbian and that I'm not considered a lesbian because I'm attracted to um,
Oh, we're not talking about you. We're
trans
just talking
women?
about the technicality
We're
of
talking about
of
the
what something
ideology,
is.
yo. We're talking about the
I know,
ideology,
but you
their
keep bringing
ideology
it
that,
back to you. You keep bringing it back to you.
because it's an
If
example. It's an example of what you're trying to say. You're basically mixing
okay,
sexuality with sex and gender
okay,
identity.
No,
okay, no,
I
because
think
That's
that,
what
there's
you're doing.
yeah, there are
Like
individuals who are
you're saying that
conflating.
gender identity and sexuality are the same
Like,
thing
let me
because
ask you
you're
this. Hold
saying
on,
you're a
hold on.
lesbian.
Do
Hold
you
on, you're
think?
saying you're a lesbian, but you're dating a man. And so it's like you're saying because his gender identity is woman, which by the way, we're not an identity you can have for yourself as a man, but anyway, you're saying because you're dating a man who has a gender identity that that still makes you a lesbian. So you're the one conflating them. That's why Raw was trying to separate them to show you
right.
that no, heterosexuality and homosexuality have to do with sexual orientation and nothing to do with
Yes,
gender identity.
Right. So
yes,
When Adora goes on live and says that they are phenotypically female, and therefore that makes them lesbian because they have an attraction to females, what are your thoughts? Do you think that Adora is, by your ideology, a lesbian?
I'm sorry, what was her gender identity?
She, her.
Oh,
Those are her
so
pronouns.
she's a woman
She
being
identifies,
attracted to a woman?
correct. She
That's a lesbian.
identifies as a woman.
That's a lesbian.
Right. But when we
So then
talk
you're not
about,
acknowledging what homosexuality is. You're just saying it's whatever. You're just saying it can be between a man and a woman, a woman and a woman. Who cares? As long as people are presenting
I mean, what is a
feminine.
trans woman who's attracted to a trans
yeah,
woman?
but
I
no,
mean,
hold
what
on,
is
hold on.
that?
We're getting too
Just
far
gay
because
men.
we're getting too
That is
far.
gay men.
When we look up the
yeah.
definition of homosexuality, it is same sex attraction. Where is gender
Yes.
identity in that definition? It is not. So we don't
Right.
conflate gender identity with sexual orientation. If you are
If
a male-bodied individual who is assimilated to look what society thinks a woman should look like, and you choose to be in a relationship with a female, that is heterosexual, especially if you are an M to F transsexual.
Also, I just wanted to comment that I think this is something that newly just like people just started protesting against. But I think out of the LGBTQ like initials, I think that they're trying to take the T out only because being trans is identity and it has nothing to do with sexuality. So I think they're trying to take that out because being lesbian, gay, bisexual, I mean, those are sexualities, and the trans
No, the LGB community is trying to take the T
Yeah,
away
it
because the
should
T
definitely take it out.
community is
yeah, they
trying to
should.
conflate gender identity with sexual orientation. LGB is sexual orientation. Trans
Exactly.
is
Yes.
not.
Right.
Yes. And
And the
so
T
Pink,
is erasing what it means to be LGB, which is causing them to be very, very harmed because they
right,
shouldn't be associated with an ideology that is basically a harmful, hateful religion.
right. So
Yeah,
Pink
and I
Razor.
totally agree. I totally agree.
Like I
So
know
Pink
people.
Razor. Oh,
No, go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Tony. You're good. You're
I
good.
don't think you
Okay.
do agree
So,
because you
so
think
Pink
beating a
Razor.
trans person.
I don't know. I'm assuming you're like most. I mean, you like fashion brands like Michael Kors or Gucci or something like that. You probably got a brand that you just absolutely love, right? This that might be a little bit fancy, right?
You
With
mean like
clothing or
fashion?
anything like
Yeah,
that.
okay, fashion in general. Okay.
Fashion, right? Now,
Yeah.
now, right. What if you're like, oh, my new Michael Kors purse and blah 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 blah. I'm so
I
happy,
actually
and
hate Michael
then
Kors, seriously.
okay, Gucci. What do you like? Gucci. What do you like?
I like Betsy Johnson.
Okay, Betsy Johnson. I don't know who that is. I don't know who or what that is. But Betsy Johnson. Let's say one day somebody brings a Betsy Johnson, and this and that, or like, and they give it to you. You're like, oh my god, my Betsy Johnson's so awesome. I got my awesome Betsy Johnson, whatever the hell they make,
I
right?
would die,
Uh,
yes.
and it's a high-end, more expensive brand, and this and that.
Oh
And
no,
let's
like
say,
it's not an expensive brand. Actually, it's not an expensive
okay,
brand, and I'm not bougie like that. I don't like Gucci,
okay.
Prada, Oscar de la Renta. Like I'm not into that. So anyway, keep
Okay.
going.
Well, most people are. Most people are, and they pay a lot of money for them. And let's say one day you find out it's a fake. It's not really it, but it looks incredibly, detailed to the real thing. But it's not the real thing, right? Let's say you
That
found
would
out
be
you got tricked.
embarrassing. No, that actually would be embarrassing. If you're walking around telling everybody you got a Prada bag and it's actually a fake, that would be embarrassing. But
So is it okay though, just because you believed it and you were fooled by it, you were tricked by it? Does that make it okay? Does that make it not a fake just because you bought it?
oh, I get what you're saying because like I'm gonna like end up biting my tongue on this because I can tell a different like I'm into fashion, so I can tell the difference between designer and knockoff. So um
Uh-huh.
I can tell the difference, but I'm not gonna judge somebody. Like if I see somebody walking down the street and they're like, "Oh, I got a Louis Vuitton bag," and it's actually not Louis Vuitton, it's a knockoff, I'm not gonna like say it out loud and be like, that's a knockoff." You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna do that. I'm
Right.
not gonna pull that.
And Pink Razor, that's how most people are in life. I can't tell you how many times I've walked around. I'm like, is that a fucking dude? Whatever. I've like thought that to myself. But I mean, like most people want to be polite in their daily lives. Most people don't want to cause trouble for themselves unnecessarily. So even if
It's
people
true though.
do think something about someone, it's like, oh, I think that person's walking around with a fake dude on her shoulder or whatever, or something, or a fake woman on her shoulder or on their shoulder or whatever, this is like on their arm, right? Most people are not going to cause controversy where they don't need to. That's how most people are. And so, but the point is that just because something emulates something doesn't make it authentic. And just because, let's say, something's a good, uh, like, copy of it, still doesn't make it authentic. It just makes it a very good forgery or very good fake. And
Yeah,
that's
and
all.
I don't know if you're reading
Yeah.
the comments, but we had this conversation before in a couple lives that over the years, like since I came out when I was like 16, I have actually come into contact with somebody that pretended to be a gender that they weren't, and I didn't find out until like the last second before we did it. So it's kind of like a shock to me, a shock to the system, and I don't know. I guess I just got used to it because it happened so many times, but. Yeah, people are just mentioning it in the comments, so I apologize. I mean, sometimes you really can't tell. I mean, you have to like
Right.
you'd have to like rip the bag open and like look for the tag and like look for the stitching, you know, like it's hard. It's not always easy to tell.
Right,
So,
exactly. And if you want some
yeah.
high-end stuff, let me tell you something. I got the number to some Koreans. They'll hook you up for a low, low price. You know what I'm saying?
No,
So
that's like fake. That's
if
like fake though. So funny.
like a lot of stuff, I'm just telling some friends when I was stationed in Korea. Um, So yeah, but that's where a lot of that stuff is made. So they're probably really good at making fakes. Um, but my point is that when it comes to something being something, there's a set of criteria that it has to meet. And if it doesn't meet that criteria, it is not that thing. It is a fake, it's an emulation, it's a copy, it might look close or whatever. And so when we talk about what it is to be a woman or what it is to be hetero or, homosexual, anything like that, there's a set of criteria. And if you meet it, you are that thing. So if we talk about what it is to be homosexual, it's same-sex attraction, which goes down to biology. So if you are of this biology and you're attracted to the same
Wait a second. No, it
biological
doesn't.
nature,
No, it doesn't. Homosexuality has nothing to do with
okay,
biology,
It has
actually.
what
everything
is
to do with
sex?
biology. Sex is biology.
No, it's not, actually.
It
Yes, it
partly
is. What is
Like,
sex
how
can
then?
can you
What is
say what you literally just said and then just literally contradict
what
what
because
you
I'll say it
what
say
is?
again.
Hold
I'll
and
on,
say
say
it
it
hold
again.
comes
on.
down
What
to
is?
biology?
Okay, Pink Razor. What is sex then? Tell me what sex is. And I'm not talking about the act of intercourse.
Like, how do
What
we
is sex?
define the two sexes? How do we
Like
define
what
the
we were
difference?
biologically born with, but
Okay,
you have
how
to
do we
understand that there's not
define?
just two
Hold on.
sexes.
Let me
There
ask the
is a
question.
third sex that's intersex, which
There
is
is no
three.
third sex, and I'll
Yes,
clear
there
this.
is. There
I
are
will
people that are
clear it up
born
for
with
you.
both.
There
And
are
it's
only
50-50. They can go more female or they can go more male, like whatever they choose, but they are born with both. So
this
I'm
is
sorry, at a baby, as a newborn baby, you don't really get to decide whether you're going to be raised as a male or raised as a female. That's actually the parent's decision. And it's unfortunate that most parents would
We're
be like,
we're not talking
oh,
about social norms.
these aren't
We're not talking
social
about social
norms.
norms.
These are not social
Well,
norms.
so
These are how this is how the
how
reality
you
works. And
how
like
you
what if
raise
that
a
baby was
boy.
adopted?
Hold
What
on,
if
Pete.
that baby was adopted and
How
put
you
into
raise a
like
boy and how you raise a girl is socially constructed based off of what is masculine
nowadays it's different
and what
though,
is
because
feminine.
nowadays it's
And
not all
let's bring it
Barbies
back. Let's
and
bring it
Hot
back to our
Wheels.
original question. How do
Okay.
we determine sex, or how do we define sex? All right, and we define them by the two gamete types.
There
All
are
right,
not just two though, is what I'm saying. Why are you not seeing that there is a spectrum?
I'll explain it to you. I'll
Okay.
explain it to you if
Okay.
you just give me a few moments. Okay. There are only two gamete types, one called ova, the large gamete, and the other one called testes, the smaller gamete.
well, the
Males produce
spermatosa. Spermatosa
spermatozoa.
is the small grain.
Yeah.
Spermatosa. Yeah.
Oh
It's
my.
the one that produces testosterone that males develop. And then the ova is what females produce, all right, to produce ovaries, eggs, excuse me. Now, there are individuals with DSDs, development of sexual disorders, but they always take the most dominant reproductive pathway, whether it's pointing towards the large gamete or the small gamete. But with these individuals,
Wait, I'm sorry. What do you mean
hold
by that?
on, hold on, please.
Okay.
They develop tissue of the opposite gamete. That gamete is not functional. That body does not produce both gametes. In fact, it may produce one and it will only have the tissue of the other one. It is not a fully developed gamete. So they are still male with tissue of the female gametes, or they are male with tissue of the, sorry, or vice versa. They are female with tissue of the male gametes. But there is not an individual who is born with both gametes and produces both gametes, and therefore are able to conceive without a binary partner.
Okay, but
That would be a third sex, but it's not.
okay,
It
but
would be a
you're
third
not
gamete.
under
Excuse me.
you're but you're wrong though.
I'm
Like
not. Look at
you're not
DSD.
wrong. Could I say something? You're not wrong when you say that they can't be both, like they can't have both reproductive systems. They can't have both. So I understand what you're saying about that. But the point is that they can still be both, they can still be born with both genitalia. And even if, say they do have ovaries, but they have a penis, like that
That is an
happens. But
exception
that
to the
actually
rule.
happens. I know,
That
but
is
we're not talking about like one or
that
two
is
people. We're talking about one or
100.
2 million
No,
people.
no, 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 no. We're
Yes, we
talking
are.
what you just said about subjects being born with both genitalia. There are only 500 out of 8 billion people on this
That is
planet.
not true. That is not true. I know more
Okay.
than 500.
Now
I know more than
you're putting it
500 of them.
down. Okay, I'm going to need you to cite a source that shows me that there are more than 500 people on this planet that were born with both genitalia. And again, DSD is something very different.
Dang. Well, while you're looking that up, a razor, pink razor. While you're looking that up, the whole point is that the reason we have identity. What is identity? Identity is necessary and sufficient conditions. Meaning, if I define a rock as a dense composition of minerals and or earth that can be picked up, right? Then anything that meets that criteria, those necessary and sufficient conditions, is by that definition a rock, right? You pick up this rock, that rock. Oh, this is kind of like a shiny rock, whatever. But they're a rock, and so the identity of what it is true because it meets the necessary and sufficient conditions. And this goes with everything that we use, right? And we have to communicate this way, otherwise we wouldn't be able to communicate. If we don't have a basis for what we're identifying and what the necessary and sufficient conditions are to identify something, then we might as well just be speaking gibberish. We might as well be like making mouth noises. You know, you might as well, because nothing you're saying has any definition. It has no meaning. And so this goes with words like homosexuality, right? Being a woman, a man, being male, female. These things have to have sufficient conditions. And what we're just trying to point out is that the conditions to be a trans man or woman don't line up with objectivity, meaning reality. Therefore, we cannot confirm them to be valid, not objectively. Can we say that there are people that identify in this way and they express themselves as the opposite sex or something like that? Sure, we can say that. They're expressing themselves. But factually, we cannot say a male who was born a male can somehow be a female. Not factually speaking, we can say that maybe he wants to express himself the way a female typically does or something like that, but we can't say that he literally is a female now when he was born a male. No, you can't change that. It's objective. It's based on reality. It's your DNA, right?
And
So
there's no surgery that one could undergo that would make their body or reproductive system emulate that of the opposite sex. Even though they call it a sex reassignment surgery, quite literally, there hasn't been a successful sex reassignment surgery because there are no methods to change one's biological structure from male to female or female to male. All they really do is emulate secondary sex based characteristics, but those characteristics do not function or operate as the original manufacturing. That was really bad. As natal females, they will never function as natal females or vice versa. But Pink, I do want to ask you a question. Are you
Can I,
familiar?
um,
Sorry, one second, nickname. I'll be right with you. So Pink, are you familiar with the
I'm sorry.
individuals in the images that I'm sharing in my background? Do you know who they are? Pink? All right. Well, nickname, you're up. How are you doing this afternoon? I'll get back to you, Pink.
I'm good. So I did research to have a transgen, not that that matters, but I did want to hop on and say from my perspective, and maybe you might like understand it or quite get it like I do possibly, but so um
Rar for my tiny dinies. Sorry, go ahead, nickname.
it's chemically
No, I'm not.
different. A gender is different than sorry, whoa. So
Is
to me, gender and your sex. So gender, like more so your chemical balance and just your brain waves and who you are. You can be feminine, you can non-binary, you can be gender neutral. So it really does matter, like the chemical balances within your body.
Um,
So
so I
if you
can see
want to
that.
change your self ID to a female because you feel like biologically you're a female compared to your sex, like gender is different than your sex. Your sex is your parts, your gender is chemical balances within your brain waves.
Do you know how the word gender was made, Nick? Do you know? It
Yeah,
was
years
developed in the
ago before it
right. It
was
was
like
developed.
ever
Mhm.
really. I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Yeah, so
interrupt you.
gender was developed in the 13th, 14th century, and it was developed to eliminate confusion and also to increase classification, right? And this classification is what eliminated confusion, right? Because back then people had uh, difficulty distinguishing smex as in the act of it, like intercourse, and then sex as in the two different sexes, right? So we
But
developed
gender
gender
has
as an increased as a more
intercourse.
hold on. Then we developed it as an increased classification, and we've used this in agriculture. It's not just humans that we gender; it's animals, right? Because we need to know the difference between a calf, right, and a
Mm.
bull or a sow, right? A mare or a
Right.
stud or a
That's sex.
stud, right? So we've genderized these terms
That's
to
sex.
increase classification.
Okay,
Mhm.
wait a second. Are we
No, no,
actually
no. You
using cat? Like,
sexualize
are we using
What?
terms.
Hold on. What I'm saying is
what
we
kind of
invented
metaphor is that?
Hold on,
we
one at a
just
time, guys.
hold on. Let me finish. We invented
Sexualize
gender to number
your
one eliminate
no.
confusion, to eliminate
Hmm.
confusion, and then also to increase classification. Right? And it didn't just apply to humans. We used it on everything, like agriculture, and we still to this day do. Right? What do you think veal is made out of? It's made out of baby freaking cows. So it's made out of calves, which is a baby cow. Right? So, what do you think a sow is? What do you think a mare is? A stud is, right? What do you
Okay,
think
I
a
don't
doe?
understand this. Like, I don't understand the words that you're using. I don't even know what you're talking
Right.
about. Are we talking
These are
about deer? Are
gendered.
we
Hold
talking
on.
about horses? Are we talking about
These are
cattle? Like,
gendered
what are you
term.
talking about?
I'll tell you right now. These are gendered terms that we use to refer to different types of animals, and we do this to be more accurate in our classification, right? Because so when we look at men, right? Men as an adult human male. What is the difference, right? Because sex is in there. So male would be the sex part of that. And then what is adult? Adult references state of maturity. And then what does human reference? Species. So it's the same with animals. What do you think a stud is? A stud is an adult horse male. Okay, so we do this. That's what gender was created for. It was created to increase our classification to include maturity, species, and sex. So when we say girl, we're talking about an adolescent human female. See how the difference is? We're talking about a different state of maturity of the
Okay,
female.
now I get it. Yes, now I actually get it. Now I
Yes.
get what you're saying.
That's
Okay.
how gender was developed. That's what it was developed for, to increase classification and eliminate confusion because we were trying to be scientific, right?
And you can agree that I'm just speaking on, people that are saying let trans kids be trans. I mean, you can agree that children don't know what gender they are until they're at a certain age.
Well, I mean, I can agree
Okay, I
that
don't know why I even
children
said that. I take
don't
that back.
know
I take that back. I don't know why I said that.
I
I
don't think
take that
they
back.
know a lot of things. I think all they know is that they're different. I remember, and I'm just forgive the anecdote. I don't normally like to go anecdotal, but I can speak for myself. Maybe you've had a similar experience. Maybe everybody else has. When I was a kid, my mom used to babysit myself and her friend's kid, which had a daughter. And I remember we were both the same age. We were both like 4 years old. And to save time, she would bathe us both at the same time. And so, of course, naturally, me, young as a curious boy, I'm like, oh wow, you're missing something. You're different from me, right? And so I noticed differences, right? As a young boy, I didn't know what they were. At 4 years old, I didn't know what the hell that was, like what the differences were, but I knew something was different, right? So children recognize differences. I don't know if they would necessarily like know how to specify what those differences are just yet.
Right. So Pink, you're part of the lesbian community, right? You identify as lesbian, it's part of your identity. When you look at the three pictures that I have on my background, are you familiar with all three of those individuals? Pink? Guys, can you hear me?
I hear you. I hear you just fine.
Pink, can you hear me?
Pink razor, you're on the hotline.
Thank you for confirming, everybody. What I'm really
Oh, dang, we lost them. We broke her. We broke her. Dang it. You see, Raw, this is why we can't have nice things, man. We're always
yeah,
breaking the ops.
we're always breaking
We're,
it. But if
we're
there's
always breaking the
anybody,
ops.
if there's anybody in the chat who is part of the LGB community, I would like to ask you a specific question. If you are part of the L community, I'd like it even more if you came up. We got a guest coming up here. Werewolf, how are you?
Morning.
How are you today, my friend?
I'm good for 6:24 in the morning. How are you?
Hey, you're a rock star, my friend. I'm doing excellent. Thank you very much. All right, Pink's coming back up, so just give me one quick second.
Yeah, good, no stress.
All right. Pink, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect. Excellent. Thank you.
I actually don't know who that other one is on the right. I thought she was somebody else. The sage woman. I don't know who that is actually.
Okay, so the first one is Tejo Trish.
Okay.
Tejo Trish is identifies as a trans woman. We have Adora, who also identifies as a trans woman, and we have Sage, who also identifies as a trans woman.
Yes.
All three of these subjects claim to have an attraction to females and by proxy call themselves lesbians. My question to you is, you being part of the lesbian community, are you willing to accept these individuals into your community and claim
Oh my God.
themselves
That
lesbians?
is such a hard question, dude. That is such a hard question because like if you were to ask me if I was gonna if I would date these people because they're trans, they're not fully transitioned yet.
Adora is.
I don't know. I would say no, actually.
Adora's fully transitioned.
Oh, is she actually?
Yeah. Top and bottom surgery.
Oh, well then yes. I mean, if she's a woman, she identifies as a woman and she's attracted to women, then that would be a lesbian.
What makes Adora a woman?
The fact that she looks like a woman and she acts like a woman and she dresses like a woman and presents as a woman.
So you believe that Adora is assimilating women in society?
I mean, it by this picture, like this picture, is a filter on this picture because I can't see
These are their
past.
profile pictures. We all know what Adora looks like.
So if I was wearing a
She's not
dress,
my
Pink,
type. You can definitely tell that she's trans. Let's put it that way. Like, no offense to her, but you can tell that she's trans.
Are
And
they feminine presenting to the point where you would be attracted to them?
no,
Does your partner resemble anything like the three individuals on my backdrop?
no.
Okay. Do you see a problem with individuals like this who are not female or feminine presenting?
They are, well, I mean, they are feminine presenting, but they're not like, let's say, like who are you going to compare them to that is like absolutely like
Sure.
flawless? Like Christina Aguilera. Okay, let's look at
I'll
Christina
give you an
Aguilera.
example. Trish emulates Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins is a beloved childhood character. Adora emulates a much younger, more provocative female, and so does Sage. So, what does that tell you about their sexual orientation, about what their attraction is to, and whether or not you're comfortable allowing individuals like that wear the lesbian label and go after the younger, more female, provocatively looking type person?
Okay, I'm gonna go to hell for saying this because I feel like now we're judging people based on their looks, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just like, people are gonna come for me for my looks now because I, judge and be judged.
But
But let's just say that
Pink Razor, but you
these
brought up
people are not like Christina Aguilera. Okay, these people are like Tim Curry wearing makeup. You know what I mean? So Robin Williams played a drag queen one time, and you can clearly tell that it was Robin Williams. So it's like, I get what you're saying. It's just that, like, there's people that look like that, and then there's people that look like Christina Aguilera that actually fully transition, that are trans women, and there are different types. Like, you have to admit there's different types, and I'm
Pink
attracted to
Razor.
the ones that look like that.
We went over this with the uh, fashion brands, right? Just because something looks like a really a really good, even though you're full back. I agree. Like, and first of all, I'll tell you, as a
Tony, Tony,
straight
Tony.
man,
We can. Okay, there you are.
You're in a pretty bad
No,
connection
what's
zone.
happening with that? I thought that
oh,
was
you guys
is
hear
that
me
my
now?
phone?
It's getting a little bit
Well,
better.
testicles, 1, 2, 3.
Yep,
Testicles,
that's
one, two,
better.
three. Testicles,
That's
one,
Oh
two,
my,
better.
three. Mic
That's
check,
better.
mic check. Okay, all right,
I'm gonna puke. I'm
all right.
seriously gonna puke.
Testicles are good. Okay, so we went over this with the fashion brands. Just because something is a very good look-alike doesn't make it like the original, right? Just because something's good at being a copy or a forgery doesn't make it what it is. And we went over this with the fashion brands. You understood that concept.
Yes, I
So,
did.
yes, I agree there are some great-looking copies out there of what women look like. There's some good
Exactly.
ones out
When
Yes.
you
there.
call me a
That
forgery,
doesn't that
Tony.
does not change the fact. That does not change the fact that they are male, right? It
Okay,
doesn't change that, right?
I have a question on that because, okay, if you're there's a drag queen, her name is, really, I can't think of it. Oh, Pheromone. Her name's Pheromone, and she actually looks like Christina Aguilera. She actually really does look like Christina Aguilera, even when she's not wearing makeup. And she's not fully transitioned yet, but she is transitioning. Like, and I mean, she's kind of, I guess, straight because she likes men. So I don't know. I would never have a chance, but like, let's say that she wanted to date me or something, and like, I don't know, like, I don't know. See what I mean? Like, I'm like literally contradicting what I'm saying
I
now.
just think, Pink, like there is this attraction that you have to males who are overtly feminine, who are perhaps, you know, straight, but maybe have some internal homophobia. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know what your partner looks like, but if I was in your shoes, meaning if I was a natal female who had matured to become an adult woman, an adult female, therefore being a woman, and was lesbian, none of these individuals would be on my pick list. They wouldn't even come close because just by first glance, I know that they're males. All right. And they don't have gender dysphoria, they have gender euphoria. All right. And this is a problem because these treatments and
That's
therapies are
Sorry,
reserved
that's
for
my girlfriend. That's my girlfriend,
your
just for
girlfriend looks
everybody.
more like a woman than any of the three individuals that are on my backdrop. But,
Exactly. So do you see my point?
Well, I
but
mean, but here's the thing. It's also a picture. I'm telling you what, people can do a lot with
Look
filters,
at her
with
boobs.
freaking.
Look at her boobs. Hello.
Oh,
Like,
okay,
she's
I've
got
seen.
boobs.
Okay, okay, they obviously look fake though.
They're not, well,
Definitely.
I mean, it wasn't like implants. They're not actually implants. It's actually like her body fat from like her butt. But I mean, still, I mean, you wouldn't know that those are fake unless you've seen her actual scars under her boobs. Like, you wouldn't know.
guys, tap to
Okay, like I
30K.
said, so yeah, so there's a difference between picture and real life. And let me tell you something. I've seen some people that think they're more feminine than they really are. And let me tell you, there's a couple of dead giveaways. The most common giveaways is the head itself. Usually, if you see somebody in real life, you can tell one of the big distinguishing characteristics between a male is a more predominant mastoid process, which is the bone that permeates right behind the jawline, which is what gives a man a wider jawline most of the time. And then also in general, a male has a larger head circumference, right? And then with that too, you're gonna have a difference in shoulders. Usually that's another giveaway, and then the hips. So generally, like one of those things is gonna give. One of those things is going to be something you can clock.
Okay, so I just wanted to show this photo really quick because this is somebody I found on TikTok that is actually 100% a female and was born female, but she has a beard, like for some reason, which is kind of weird. But like apparently, like, there's a lot of people like now. There's girls that look like a 10 and they have like armpit hair that they dye colors. Like there's people that don't shave their legs, or like there's a lot of people that they're just it's not the norm anymore. Like what was norm like 10 years ago, shaving completely bald and being like no arm hair, no armpit hair, no down there hair, like no hair. Like that was something that we did like 10 years ago, but like nowadays women are like now coming out and they're not down for
No,
that. They
the
don't
only
shave. They
difference,
don't
the
want to
only
shave.
difference, Pink, is that back then,
And she's
um,
still gorgeous. She's
women
gorgeous and
women
she has
with
a beard and she's
PCOS or
gorgeous.
women with hair on their legs
I
or
mean, speak
women
for
who are
yourself. I
burning their
don't think so, but
bras were
okay.
still women, right? And they didn't try to call themselves men. Now we have men who are growing out their hair. They're getting aroused by it. I'm not talking about all trans people. I'm talking about these AGPs specifically and why this is dangerous and why you need to disassociate AGPs from LGBT and the
Hey,
T
I got
community.
long hair. I got long hair, and I'm not confused.
No, you're
I
not
got,
confused. You're not
I got it.
confused me,
I'm
but
indigenous. My native name is Dances in Underwear.
like these
What?
these three
Oh my god.
individuals, I'm gonna give you something they all share in common. These three individuals get aroused when
Yeah, since
individuals
when did they?
either affirm them or denigrate them. Right? This is part of being AGP. It is the arousal, all right, of being affirmed as a woman, all right, or being denigrated as one. All right. This is part of the AGP behavior. And so why are we affirming someone's fetish, all right, with a group of people who are trying to affirm that are gender dysphoric? Why are we doing that?
I don't know. Like, I really don't know why we're so focused on other people when we are not perfect ourselves. So we can't sit there and be like, you should be like this or you should be like
That
that or you're
doesn't
not this
answer
and
the
you're not that.
question.
What was the question?
Hold on, I'm
Yeah.
responding to a comment. I do want to introduce Supermom. Supermom, thank you so much for joining the live. What are your thoughts on the conversation so far?
Um, I cannot even put into words the disgust and frustration that I feel when I watch Mandora spew the rhetoric that comes out. It's absolutely disgusting. I'm so sick and tired of men thinking that they can be lesbians. Come on now. I myself am not a lesbian. I'm straight as they come, but I've
Okay.
got daughters that are, and the fact that this person is insistent that men have babies and that men can be lesbians just proves how bent he really is. And honestly, going through all of this and learning all of the things that I've learned, I'm actually going to sign up and go to a cybersecurity boot camp and try to help track down some of the disgust that's on the internet, because I can't sit back and do nothing. That's where I'm at with it.
And the reality is, Supermom, is that there are a lot of children today and a lot of adolescent girls and boys who are flocking to these social media platforms to watch these individuals. All right. There are 14-year-olds associated with Tay Trish's platforms. There
That's
have been
gross.
there have been minors that have been lured into Adora's Discord, and they have been pointed in the direction of more lewd content that this person has published, which is part of AGP behavior. I'll get into it. And then we have Sage, who we all know has modded minors, has
Oh, yeah.
platformed minors, has
Oh
spoken to
God.
minors in their Discord, has added them to their Snapchat accounts. All right.
Yeah, I've read and seen a whole bunch, like a bunch of stuff that's in Christie's servers. Like, holy crap, are you serious?
Yeah, we
Like,
need
it's,
the T community to acknowledge that these individuals exist and that they are identifying as trans. Autogynephilia is not trans.
They're predators in skirts. It's disgusting.
Yes, but that is, I'm not going to deny that that's not happening, but we're talking about 1% again. It's like, this is what it looks like to me. It's like literally comparing like the rap genre. Okay. There's one Eminem and the rest of them are black. That's what it comes down to.
Not the same because, again, Pink, I told you
But
this.
this was 10 years ago. But this was 10 years ago
Individuals.
because we're talking about things that happened 10 years ago. We're not talking about things that are actually happening right now.
Girl,
Okay, so here, I'm going to break
girl,
it
I
down.
know you did not just try
Hold
to
on,
use the
Chelsea. Hold
genre.
on. Let me just break this one point down.
Because there's
Again,
people that are still complaining about people that are stealing like rap music that are not part of the rap industry. And it's like, there's 3 white rappers out there. Like, you guys can't even
One,
complain about that.
incorrect.
follow me for 1 second, okay, Pink? So there are 1% of the world's population who experience an incongruence between their sex and gender. 1% of the world's population. There are 3 to 6% of the male population within Western civilizations that exhibit AGP behavior. That just means that there are more males, natal males, who are experiencing and exhibiting AGP type behavior than actual individuals in Western societies experiencing an incongruence between their
Oh,
sex
great.
and gender.
Hey, RawReal, I'm gonna dip out. Thank you for having me, sir. I'll be in the
Have a good
comments
one.
watching.
Appreciate you,
You guys
Tony.
have a good one.
Have a
Peace
good
out.
one.
All
Peace
right.
out.
So do you understand that even if you took the population of individuals who suffer from gender dysphoria in Western countries like Canada, UK, all across Europe, the United States, that there are still 3% of males, natal males in those societies that are exhibiting AGP type like behavior.
Can I ask you what the exhibiting AGP behavior is in this circumstance?
Sure. So when it comes to natal males who are going through the stages of Tanner, which is puberty, they're actually, what ends up happening is they develop an internal sexual target versus the rest of us, where we develop external sexual targets. What this looks like for me particularly is I have a preference and an attraction to natal females who have a larger bust size. Some males have an external sexual target towards women who have a bigger hip size or rear end size. Whatever the case may be, that is what the sexual target is. It means
So it's about finding themselves attractive as opposed as
when
a
it
woman
comes
as
to
opposed to.
internal, correct. When it comes to internal, they are fantasizing and visualizing themselves as the opposite sex and achieving arousal and a state of euphoria as a result of it. Euphoria as a result of that. So these individuals, when they walk out into society and cultivate relationships with individuals of the opposite sex, it's because of their sexual characteristics and their desire to possess those characteristics. And when they engage in romantic and intimate actions, they are not actually focused on stimulating their partner. It is about fantasizing about being their partner so that they can be stimulated.
Man, that's a messed up relationship. I'll be honest. Like, that sounds like a messed up
It
relationship.
is, but if you go to the Reddits, Pink, like this is what I need you to do. I'm not doing this because I want to chastise you. I'm not doing this because I want to waste my time.
Yeah, but it's not. But I know what you're saying. But like, even though like I've maybe fantasized about having a penis like one time, but
No,
like
you
it
can't, you
doesn't
can't
turn me
exhibit this.
on.
You can't exhibit this. This only happens in natal males. Women do not experience autogynephilia.
Yeah, what do you mean? I know women who are a lesbian that wish that they did have a penis and they imagine having a penis and that's why they use strap-ons and shit.
Again, I'll
Like,
break the word down for you, Pink. Autogynephilia. Auto, one, gyna, female, philia, desire for oneself. So when you break it down, the origins are Greek. It means love for oneself as a woman. Females are already
okay.
females when they're adults. They don't desire to be females. Gyna meaning female. Rar for my tiny dinies. So this only happens in natal males. This doesn't happen in females.
Oh, okay, that makes sense, I guess.
So what
Okay.
I'm saying is that the AGPs outnumber the actual people within our society that are actually transgender, meaning they have gender dysphoria. They've received a clinical diagnosis of gender dysphoria. Hold on. I rar for my tiny dinies. Rar, 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 rar for my tiny dinies. All right. And these individuals, although to a certain extent can experience gender dysphoria, it's because they have a desire to have the secondary sexual characteristics that females do. This is called anatomical AGP, and they desire to have the body parts. Adora exhibits this when females and women get onto their panel and challenge their identity. Adora grabs their bust and goes, "Does a man have these?" Adora also has, of their own volition, stated that they spend an inordinate amount of time staring at themselves in the mirror. This tells me they are fantasizing. You know who else does this? Sage does this as well. When they get drunk on camera and they host lives, they dance in front of their wardrobe. Their entire wardrobe is a mirror, and you can catch them multiple times looking at themselves, and you can see the facial expressions and the effects of euphoria and arousal that they are experiencing.
I mean, it's crazy. Like, I miss those days, actually. I seriously do. I miss those days where, like, we go to high school, our first period, we'd all come to school with no makeup, and we'd spend, like, literally the whole period for, like, sewing, basically. And we'd just do each other's makeup, and, you know, we did look in the mirrors, and, you know, I miss those days.
What fantasy
I was conceited.
high school did you go to?
I was conceited when I was a teenager. I have to admit, like, I got, you know, cars would, like, honk at me, like, I put myself in some risky situations. But, you know, like,
You were dealing with rumors and pedos.
Nowadays, it's like people my age, I don't even know anybody my age that's conceited. Like, everybody my age are like having identity crisis, like are fighting depression.
Nobody has confidence anymore. And if you do have confidence, then you're this, that, or the other phobic. It's ridiculous.
Exactly. Everybody.
So I have just one more thing I wanted to add to the whole Mandora thing.
Okay,
yes,
yeah,
go ahead,
sure.
Supermom.
Yes.
I saw a clip a couple of days ago, and Mandora literally said, "This male shuts you down again. This male."
Oh, yeah.
I was like, "Are you kidding?" And like the frustration in his eyes, but also like the control. Like, it almost reminded me of my ex-husband when he'd drink and he'd go into this alternate personality, I'd call it. It was ugly. You could see it coming through on Mandora when he said that, and I was just like, holy crap. It's so much deeper than any of us even know, and that's why it's so freaking scary that they have the following that they do. Because, and then you get the trans mom on there, and I just want to punch that one. I can't even go there.
The one that says trans kids should be kids, or
Mel needs to be punched in her dick sucker. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I do want to answer Werewolf's question quickly, so I'm just going to take the next couple of moments. Everybody put yourself on mute. I'm going to read some education about autogynephilia, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. I'm not a doctor, and this is for educational purposes only. I do invite each and every one of you to fact check all the information that I'm talking about, and continue to do your own research. Okay, so here I'm going to take the next 3 minutes just to read some stuff off, just so you have a better understanding of what autogynephilia looks like in natal males. And roaring for my tiny dinies, thank you. All right, so autogynephilia. The term autogynephilia was introduced by Ray Blanchard, a research sexologist. In the 80s and 2000s, Dr. Blanchard did significant research and published many journal articles on his findings regarding autogynephilia. Some people say that the theory of autogynephilia has been debunked. However, there is plenty of evidence that autogynephilia exists. The next slide. There are 4 types of autogynephilia. AGPs fit into one or more of the following categories. Number 1, transvestic. Erotic arousal associated with the act or fantasy of wearing women's clothing. Number 2, behavioral. Arousal associated with the act or fantasy of engaging in female typical behavior. Number 3, anatomic. Arousal associated with the fantasy or reality of having female anatomic features. Number 4, physiological. physiological, excuse me, arousal associated with the fantasy or simulation of being pregnant, menstruating, or lactating. Roaring for my tiny dinies. Give me 1 second. I'm going to invite this guest.
So sorry, wait a second. That's a thing?
Yes, that like have you ever heard Adora say, I have menstrual cramps?
No. And please tell me this because I'm
Okay,
sorry, but I still have to
hold
go
on.
through that and it sucks.
Everybody in the chat, we're almost 300 people.
Who would want
Has
that?
has anybody in the chat ever heard Adora say, they're experiencing menstrual cycle cramps? Type
I
yes.
haven't. She had that frickin' stuffed uterus in her hand.
We have evidence. I have a clip.
Well, that's stupid. I didn't
All right,
know
so
that.
let me
people were
give
saying-
let me give you some broader definitions of the 4 different behaviors. All right, and these include some examples as well. So werewolf, this is going to touch base on your question. So when it comes to transvestic autogynephilia, it is the erotic arousal associated with the act or fantasy of wearing women's clothing. He may steal undergarments from a known female to wear himself, masturbate onto, or just to sniff. He may be aroused at the sight of himself wearing women's clothing, including heels, bras, underpants, dresses, or skirts and stockings. This
Rock,
can be, hold on, this can be
that's what
looking,
you call a transvestite? Is that what you're saying?
no, this is called transvestic autogynephilic behavior.
Okay, because I heard that from the Sunday Night Sex Show. I don't know about you, but that's who I heard that from. And when the guy
It
called
is a
in, he asked if he was
transvestic
gay.
disorder. It is a
And then,
transvestic
okay.
disorder, and they used to be called transvestites. I'll continue reading. This can be looking in the mirror, viewing photos of himself, or exhibitionally posting these images on social media. If he is closeted, he may wear women's underwear and derive pleasure from orchestrated situations where his fetish is revealed to someone close to him, who then becomes part of the fantasy. That was transvestic. The next one is behavioral. Arousal associated with the act or fantasy of engaging in female typical behavior. He experiences sexual arousal being feminine. Example, putting on makeup, painting nails, shaving legs, brushing hair, or going clothes shopping with the girls, attending girls' sleepovers, perhaps even sitting on a toilet seat to urinate. Access to female-only spaces provides the ultimate validation of womanhood, and with that comes erotic pleasures. He may describe gender euphoria when acting like
I'm so sorry. Can I ask one more time? Can I just ask one more time? Because you're talking about like, so what if people have pee fetishes? I mean, there's people that have pee fetishes, so every time they go to the bathroom, they get aroused. So why aren't we clocking these people? Like, why all of a sudden are we?
No, a pee
Like,
fetish is somebody who desire, like the act itself is called a golden shower. It is somebody who desires to be peed on.
right.
And this is a different desire. This is emulating the act that a woman would do when sitting down on a toilet. So again, it is the role that they are emulating.
I mean, it's gross to think about, but how do we know that they're doing that? We don't know that they're doing that. We don't know if there's 2 people in the stall beside us doing it. We don't know if they're doing, like, you know what I mean? It's like what they do in the stall. Like, we don't know what goes on in that. And I don't think it's any of our business to know what goes on in the stall beside us.
It is, and I'll get to it in a moment. So again, access to female-only spaces provides the ultimate validation of womanhood, and with that comes erotic pleasure. He may describe gender euphoria when acting like a bimbo or a schmutt. This may attract attention from men in the form of mild sexual harassment, example, catcalls on the street, which most women would abhor. But for these men, it is sexually gratifying and welcome validation. There are only 2 more, Pink, so just hang with me.
Also, is that in high school it was a thing, and that like girls would like literally love that people would walk by and honk at them. Nowadays, we give them the finger. Like we literally give them the finger. If somebody goes by and honks at me, I give them the finger. Like I don't care.
You must be a narcissist because no teenage girl going through puberty in high school enjoyed being catcalled by a man. not in the
Yes, they
slightest.
did. Yes, they
Oh, then
did.
girl, you're sick in the head because I did not like it, not in the slightest. Many girls that I
I'm
knew,
just saying,
we
I
felt
didn't like it, but every other chick on the cheerleading team liked it. Every other chick
so
that I hang out
again,
with liked it.
they're narcissists. They're narcissists because no teenage girl would ever feel comfortable getting catcalled, especially by a grown man. I would never even respond. I would, in fact, turn my head and start walking faster.
Actually, you
You,
don't know that it was a grown man. You actually don't know who it is because they drive by and honk at you. You don't get to like turn around and see who it is that
regardless,
honked at you.
if it's a grown man, if it's a teenager, I don't care. You are not going to harass me while I'm walking in the street. I'm not going to be comfortable at all.
So, like, if you were Paris Hilton back in that day, you wouldn't want that.
That's Paris Hilton.
Yeah, but that's how we acted. We literally,
think
Paris Hilton was our like
Oh,
queen then.
okay.
the fact of the matter is the majority of female women would not like that behavior and feel extremely uncomfortable. So because you're using Paris Hilton as the example does not prove your point.
Well, I'm just saying that it was like an attention thing. And back then, like, we wanted all the attention on us. We wanted all eyes on us. We wanted to be the spotlight. You know what I mean? That's what we wanted when we were teenagers.
Again,
Nowadays, we
teenage
don't
girls
want it.
didn't
We don't
want
want the
that.
attention. We don't want the cameras. We don't want the
No,
paparazzi.
most teenage girls were trying to just get through puberty in peace.
Yeah,
Listen,
most of
That's
them are not
not the
trying
kind
to
of girls I hung out with, though. Like,
then
that,
the
those are
people
not the
you hung
girls.
out with are psycho. That's the
Dude, I
point
went to
I'm
12
saying.
different high schools in my time, and literally, like, no, like, they were all literally the same.
All right, let's put a pin in this for one quick second. Let me get through the last two AGP type behaviors, and then we can open it up for a much broader discussion. I'm still roaring for my tiny Denny's. Thank you very much. All right. Number 3 is anatomical AGP behavior. It's arousal associated with the fantasy or reality of having female anatomic features. Rar. He may have fantasies of having soft feminine skin, womanly curves, and or being penetrated in his non-existent vajayjay. He may wear oversized fake breasts or seek access to hormones and cosmetic surgeries to feminize his body for the purpose of sexual arousal, aka gender euphoria. Examples of this are breast implants, Brazilian butt lifts, butt implants, facial feminization surgery, penile removal, and creation of a neovagina. He may exhibitionally post lewd photos of his body online, equally aroused by viewers' validation or disgust. I got one more and then I'm done. Physiological autogynephilia. Arousal associated with the fantasy of simulation of being pregnant, menstruating, or lactating. He may enjoy having a period and may create false evidence of a period. He may steal tampons from bins or female housemates out of sexual interest. He may become jealous of a female partner or friend if they are pregnant and accuses them of being insensitive when they share too much information about their own experience of pregnancy. He may simulate pregnancy with a fake bump and generate fake contractions using abdominal muscle simulation. He may find it arousing to breastfeed babies, and if he has none, may ask a mother to access her baby for gender affirmation. And so I posted a video, or I reposted a video on Twitter the other day of this trans woman who went through surrogacy to have a baby, and they placed this baby on this male's chest, and the baby was mortified. The baby was crying, was not being soothed, was not bonding. And so I asked the question, is it bonding for the baby, or is this gender affirming care for the male? And when I look at it, they don't give a shit about what the baby's going through. The male is just there going, gimme, gimme, gimme. And if it were me in that position, I'd be like, don't give me this baby. This baby clearly is rejecting me, does not want to be around me. Get that baby its natal mother right now. And we are now using babies as gender affirming mechanisms to affirm men and these fetishes that they have, of them desiring to be females, desiring to play the role of females, desiring to look like females and be affirmed in society as women. This is not trans. Trans people do not transition to feel euphoric. They transition to relieve dysphoria. So the trans community needs to understand that these people exist and they are outnumbering the number of individuals who are suffering from gender dysphoria. And you need to remove yourselves or remove them from the trans community. So I'll say this before I open it up to the panel. If you go into Tetris's live and they've got a transgender flag, or if you go into Adora's live and they've got a transgender flag, or if you go into Sage's live and they are flying a transgender flag, politely let them know that they are not transgender. All right, I'm going to open it up starting from the bottom to the top. So, Ruru, thank you so much for joining. What are your thoughts on what we're covering? Do you agree or do you disagree?
Hello, thank you for having me. No, I agree. I only know of Adora. I've seen the other two, but only in like these kind of lives. And I like have a very similar opinion to Supermom. I'm kind of like disgusted by the whole thing, and it's kind of like giving people who are really trans like a terrible name, because these are now making up a majority of the group, and they're the loudest voices of the group.
Thank you for that. Hang tight, please. Supermom, I'm going to give you an opportunity to respond, but then do you mind if I swap you out for somebody who is waiting in the guest request?
That's totally fine with me. My position hasn't changed. I think it's horrible. The more that I'm learning, and the more that I'm learning is just how sick our world is, and I've got to do something to help. That's the only thing I keep thinking is I'm in here and I'm learning, and I've got to do something with it so that we as women and as just humans with a conscience that aren't over schmexualizing our children, we just have to stick together and work together. Otherwise we're gonna just keep having this problem. So yeah, but yeah, you can swap me out. That's totally fine. Thank you for having me up.
I appreciate you stopping by, and please feel free to continue to stop by and participate in these lives again.
I absolutely will. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let me bring up the next guest. In the meantime, who is ever next? Chelsea, what were your thoughts? And what would you like to add, please?
Yeah, I just think every time you read off the four different types of AGP, I just start to see more and more how common AGP actually is. Maybe it's just on TikTok for all I know, but it just seems as though, like your background says, self ID lets AGPs into the LGBT community, and it's just causing issues. And if the trans community doesn't want to be lumped into AGPs, then it's up to them to get out of that categorization. Like, if the shoe fits, put that bitch on, tie it up, and wear it. Like, if you know you're not an AGP and you have your diagnosis of gender dysphoria and you're chilling, you should not be hurt. But the way those three, particularly in Adora, react to being called one, it just further shows that, yes,
Okay,
like, you
so
are an
let me
AGP.
let me do this little exercise with you, Chelsea. All right, I don't know if you've ever watched Tejo Trish. Can you confirm or deny?
I've seen one clip of a live, and I couldn't watch anymore. Like, it just
Okay, so in a clip that I had recorded and posted on my page, talking about education regarding AGP behaviors, one of the things that Trish had said when looking into the camera was, "You know I'm hot. You know you find me hot. You know you would do something to me," and I perceive that to be transvestic in nature, in that they are being aroused by the idea or dressing like the woman that they are fetishizing and fantasizing about.
But do
Um,
you though?
what do you mean, do I?
Do you find them attractive?
Do I find
No.
Tejo attractive? No, I don't find Tejo attractive. Autogynephilia for without my armor, autogynephilia is something that natal males experience, not all natal males, but they develop an internal sexual target, one that allows them and rewards them for fantasizing and fetishizing about themselves as a woman. So when it comes to Tejo Trish, I believe that Trish does get aroused by the idea of themselves dressed as a woman. I also believe that they are behavioral AGP and that they want to be seen as women and they want to use particular gestures and mannerisms to be seen as women. And when they are affirmed as women or they're being called beautiful by women and girls amongst their viewership, this is also helping them to accomplish arousal and climax. And again, I'm not saying that these individuals are going out and gratifying themselves on camera. That may be the case because I'm not watching them 24/7. But they will typically take those experiences with them off camera and further their fantasies when they're alone. So that is part of the non-consensual part that I was discussing before, in that when you as women are out in society and you are affirming people like this and saying, "Oh, you look cute today, honey," or "Yeah, you're a woman," or "You go, girl," or "You look so pretty." This is a non-consensual form of getting that person aroused. I want to make this very, very clear and abundantly
I
clear.
have a couple questions.
Yes, Flappy. Thank you for joining. How are you?
Mm,
No, Flappy's good to talk, guys. Don't make
Hell, bruh. All right, so we can agree that like engaging behavior and getting like aroused are like two different things, right?
So define them, please, just so that we have consensus on what on what you mean, please.
Okay, so I mean, it's pretty simple. Engaging in a behavior such as like engaging in like any form of like femininity or expression of femininity, or also just being called like, or I guess like having gender conferred in certain ways. Like you guys said, being perceived as a woman, being called she, her, using feminine pronouns, or even being called beautiful. That's what I would call saying like, engaging in such behavior. I think that's separate from being aroused from said behavior,
No,
I
well,
or just aroused in general.
my issue is that the intent of that person giving the compliment is in good intentions, of course, because it's one that is passing on a compliment. It is the actual impact of that compliment. So if you took homosexual, transsexual,
Can I say something, please? Because it's
one second,
basically doing the
one
opposite.
second,
It's
Pink,
doing the
Pink,
opposite of what you're
one
trying to say.
second, 1 second, please. So when we compare the two types of male to female transsexuals, there's the homosexual and then there's the heterosexual. Where if we pass a compliment off to the homosexual transsexual, some of them have even said that it's very awkward for us to hear these compliments, just because of the struggles that we've gone through. They don't get a sense of euphoria. They don't feel aroused by that compliment. That is not the impact nor the intent. But when we deliver that compliment to the AGP, who is heterosexual, the outcome, although the intent was just to be respectful, the outcome is one that achieves arousal for that person. That
Like,
is a side effect
me
of
fearful, you're making me afraid to give somebody a compliment. Like, I'm afraid to give a male a compliment because now I feel
No,
like they're
that's
gonna get
not.
aroused
That's not
by
what
me
he's
saying that they look
saying.
handsome, or I like that jacket. You know what I
No.
mean? Like, what I can't. No, but I'm serious though, because like it's like is that really what's happening? Because like that's disgusting to me. Like, I
All
don't want to
right.
sit there and give a guy a boner just because I like his jacket. Like, what?
Well, there are
Oh,
men out there that will get aroused by just a simple compliment. It happens. If they think a woman is attractive and that woman compliments them, it does happen. But what Raw is specifically talking about is in relation to AGPs. If you affirm their belief if you affirm the belief that they are a woman, an attractive woman, whatever the case may be, you are essentially increasing that arousal that they have, because autogynephilia is a sexual attraction to it is a male sexual attraction to themselves as a woman. Like, I don't know how you're not seeing the connection.
the danger is, Pink,
what
is
I
that
would like
we'll
to
never
ask.
know. Yeah, sorry,
Yes,
go ahead,
please,
Flappy, and
please
then
let
I'm gonna
us
go.
and go.
I want to get to Flappy, and then I want to get to Rue, who's
No,
been.
can we let the guy at the top go? Because like he was
Yeah,
actually
Flappy.
on talking about what I was talking about.
No,
So
Flappy's going to go first, and then I'm going to get to Rue. Go ahead, Flappy.
All right. So this is like theory, I guess, but how do we know that arousal's like taking place exactly?
Yeah,
Especially with these people over TikTok.
So I would say you have to spend an inordinate amount of time studying and watching these individuals so that you can see the changes in their behavior, right? Trish goes from this, very high energy type person, and then in a split second becomes very sexual, and in another second becomes sexually aggressive, if they're not getting the response that they're supposed to get. So again, this is something that is very complex and that you need to have a more intimate understanding about the different types of behaviors and how they are exhibited. And then you're going to have to sit down with multiple people and observe them to see whether or not they're demonstrating this.
Something happened because they're not in the panel anymore.
Oh.
And Raw, can I add to that for a sec?
Yes, sir.
The same thing is with Adora there. Adora gets turned on by these things by looking in the camera and talking about how good he looks and how he's a female and how he's a woman, and sitting on camera with no pants on and plugging his Twitter that was absolutely disgusting with the stuff that was on there. You can see it. Or the videos. We have tons of videos that just show what Adora is all about. And Adora is not a trans woman. Adora is an AGP that is just giving a really bad name to the whole community for people like Coco, Chloe, that are out there living their lives and doing the best they can. So Adora is the furthest thing from a trans
my
woman.
my issue in all of this, Pink, is that when we look at individuals like Coco and Chloe, they literally put in all the work so that they could assimilate to society's standards of what a woman was. And now today, society needs to change, right? In the sense that we have to assimilate to your understanding of what a woman is, right? And that's just not sitting well with any of us, because that opens up the door for these three individuals and others alike to wear the trans flag and say that they're trans and give the entire trans community a bad name. And now it's even bleeding into your community, because two out of these three individuals still have a pecker and wouldn't mind traumatizing a woman who's never had a pecker in them and who is only attracted to female parts, natal female.
Can I say something really quick? Because I just wanted to make a comment on, like, there are a few people that I know that are on here that also, like, they talk normally with people. They have normal conversations like this. It's just normal conversations. But if you go to their Twitter and you see that they have OnlyFans and, like, basically, they have all this, like, OnlyFans material and stuff on their Twitter and everything, like, there are a lot of people that are doing that. Like, it's not just those three people, or it's not just them. It's actually, there's a lot of straight people that are doing it. There's a lot of gay people that are doing it. Like, there is just a lot of people in general that are doing it. And it's crazy because, like, all of their, TikToks are usually thirst traps, if that's what you want to call it. And, it ends up leading to other stuff, but they are on here and it's like PG on here because you can't say whatever you just can't be as free to say whatever you want, and it's unfortunate that people use this app for that kind of, that kind of reach out, I guess, because, this shouldn't be like, it's based, you know what I mean? Like, it shouldn't be about that. It should be like, they do just engage with people, though. They're not like pushing their OnlyFans on people. It's just that, they're such good looking. I mean, and then you see on their profile that they have OnlyFans, like, okay. And then you check it out and, like, I was just like mind blown. I'm like, what? And I'm like, okay, this person is way too hot for TikTok. Like, just way too hot. But, like, I don't know. Like, they're on here, and it's crazy. Like, why is Jeffree Star on here? He literally has multi-millions. Like, he has his own makeup company and he's on here every single day, and it's like he's not asking people for, like, I don't know, like, it's
Pink, my question to you, my question to Pink is, Where do you stand in this right now? Because I've seen you go from sending threats to Christy in chat, which I've seen, to having a conversation with Envy and Christy that looked productive, to like, where are you
I
at?
literally cried. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. Because I just like felt really bad. Like I want to put myself in their shoes because they obviously took the time to put themselves in my shoes. And, you know, I can understand where they're coming from, but at the same time, like if they want to call me, they can call me whatever they want at the end of the day. Like at the end of the day, whatever their opinion is going to be their opinion. And I am just going to have to accept that that's how they are and that's who they are. Like that's all I'm asking for.
That didn't answer my question. Like, where do you stand? Like, what's your opinion on this? Like, where are you on the spectrum?
Like, what do you mean? Like, I don't agree with the three people that are in the background. I mean, I've seen them on lives, and I do think that they are a little bit ridiculous. But
Do you think they're problematic?
Yes, they are problematic. 100%. They are problematic.
Do you think that Adora should be claiming to be a lesbian and being on a lesbian dating site and other? No.
No, she should not. And she doesn't have the right to basically say that either. Like, if I was in her live, I'd tell her that, like, straight up. You're not a lesbian and you have no right to call yourself a lesbian.
So you have changed your opinion on that, which is fine and good. But
no, I just feel like you have to have full surgery. Like I'm sorry about my girlfriend. I have to keep mentioning her because she is fully transitioned. So she has a right to call herself a lesbian because she is like fully transitioned. If you're not fully transitioned, then you don't have a right to call yourself.
But as a male, you do not have the right to be a lesbian.
Right. No, wait. No, as a male. I disagree. Like my girlfriend is a biological man. She has a right to identify as a lesbian because she's a woman.
No.
These people are not women. These people are not women. These people are...
Adora has fully transitioned though. Adora has had both top and bottom surgery. If you're not aware.
Oh, she has? Has she actually?
Yes.
Okay, well, she's kind of... Yes. Okay, so then, unfortunately, that is an exception then, because then, yes, she can call
herself. So you would now
no.
say that Adora is a lesbian?
If she's fully transitioned, then yes, she is a lesbian.
No.
Unfortunately.
You do realize, hold on, Pink. You do realize what anatomical AGP behavior is, right? It is the desire and it is the arousal to the thought or reality of having female anatomic parts. So these people literally...
But she does have female parts.
Right. No, and it is for the arousal.
I don't think she went through those surgeries just to get aroused. Like, that's wild to think that.
You'd be surprised what people will do for arousal.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I honestly don't know. Are we going to be walking down the street now and judging people?
I think Rue has had their hand up for
yes.
Yeah, can we? Yeah, please.
I want to give Rue their time. Sorry about that, Rue. Thank you for your...
RawReal, you need to enlarge yourself so that people can see the background. Expand yourself.
You talking about me?
What was that?
Were you talking about me, Nate?
Yes, click your box and expand it if you want people to be able to see the background because you're the same size as everybody else.
Yeah, I'm in Canada, so it's a different...
Raw, is that actually Sage in your comments right now?
If it is...
Yes. Sage and the sis are here.
What are they saying?
Do you want me to block or leave them? Raw?
I want to leave Sis in here, and I want to leave Sage in here as well.
Okay.
They should come up in the box.
Rue, go ahead.
Sis, if you want to come up in the box, I'm going to make room for you. Just send up a request. Sage, you can do the same thing too. AGP stands for Autogynephilia. Autogynephilia is a transvestic disorder whereby it is a male's propensity to be aroused by the thought or fantasy of themselves being a woman.
Hey, Raw, am I able to bring up just the topic? I just wanted to jump in here for a second and say something.
Please do.
So the man that did the Disney video is live right now trying to defend and deflect and all of that stuff. Is there anybody or anywhere where we can start a petition to actually have them banned from Disney? Because I would love to sign it. I think it's so inappropriate. And the fact that they're defending themselves right now just absolutely, just makes me actually nauseated.
Why don't you create it and share it out? Like, it's really easy to start
I honestly
a petition
don't know how to. That's the only reason I was asking.
Disney? Disney. Like, what about Disney?
Lily Tino was at the Disney parks talking about their Genital mutilation
Oh,
surgeries
I
around
know what you're talking
children.
about. I seen
with
that.
children.
Yeah, that's disgusting. I'm sorry. That person was absolutely disgusting. I don't know why they did that. I know who you're talking about. Now I remember.
Well, not only that, but they're live right now trying to defend he sees no problem with what he did. He's literally defending it and then started talking about Kurt Cobain, which I have no idea what Kurt Cobain has to do with anything, but for some reason he's deflecting to that now.
Yes, I know. What the hell is with that? Like, he
Because they
started
think
that.
Lily thinks Kurt Cobain was trans, and that's not true.
Oh my God, I know. And like, you can't even say that. That's so disrespectful for somebody who passed away from an overdose. Like, they were going through shit. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I hate that person. I know
Like
you're talking about.
Lily Tino to me is another AGP in the sense that they get very sexually frustrated when people like the help do not affirm them by using their pronouns. They get very, very angry, and it just comes off as sexual frustration because I feel as though they're making a conscientious effort to be affirmed by their pronouns, right, in these public spaces. And I'm just wondering why they're so adamant about receiving that affirmation. I could be wrong, but this is just my opinion. And I've heard that he's into
I
women.
didn't know that he unalived himself. I thought it was an overdose, but it actually
No, he
wasn't.
didn't overdose. He pew-pewed himself. Anyways, Rue was
Okay.
It's
waiting.
even more sad.
Rue was
Makes it.
Yeah,
Rue
Rue, go
was
ahead.
waiting.
I'm
Rue
hoping
was
that
waiting to
that
talk
video makes
before.
it to somebody in Disney that has some type of ties. If a petition doesn't get started, I'm pray to God that somebody sees it, or to whoever's higher. I just pray somebody sees that, because that is just so unacceptable, especially around children.
Yeah, message me on my other account. It's shane.da.pain, Pain. I can't get DMs on this account. If anybody can type that into the chat, I'd appreciate it. Rue, please go ahead.
Can I say one thing? Can I say one thing real quick?
No, Pink. I'm sorry. I gotta get to Rue. I'm sorry.
Because I've only recently found out what an AGP is. Literally just a question: is there like an opposite of like women who get gratification thinking they're men? Just out of curiosity.
Those individuals are considered androphilic, and androphilic is the attraction to male sexual characteristics. It has not been widely observed. There are few instances, but again, they are not using the same typology that the original Dr. Blanchard had used, and they had actually altered the study, and so therefore they are alluding to the idea that women can be autogynephilic, but it is not. It is not something that is possible for women to be autogynephilic.
Okay, thank you. I was just curious.
You're welcome. You're welcome. If there's anybody who wants to volunteer to drop, I just need 2 squares for the 2 individuals who are in the chat.
I can drop if you want.
You bet.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you for having me. I'll drop as well.
My pleasure, Rue. You please come back now. Think freely. What are your thoughts? Do you agree or disagree?
I mean, I don't know much about AGP. What I do know is that there isn't really much evidence for its existence. I think I'm sort of more just curious about your evidence that these 3 people. Well, I mean, I'm not sure who the other 2 are, but I do know who the one in the middle is, and I spent a lot of time watching her conversation. I
Can
see
we
no
address
evidence
the first statement that you made?
of her being
The
aroused
proof
when
surrounding
she's complimented.
autogynephilia? Because I don't know why you think that there is little proof surrounding the existence of autogynephilia.
I was still talking.
Oh no, I'm just asking you a question about the first statement you made. Can't just get up and make 2 different points.
Yeah, no, but I hadn't finished. So, so yeah, I think like my sort of main question is like, what is your evidence that people are aroused by sort of presenting as women?
That's what autogynephilia means, bro.
Right. It's been studied over the course of over 30 years by a doctor by the name of Ray Blanchard, who is a sexologist, a research sexologist in North America. He was the one that was the person who identified the 2 differences between the male to female transsexuals. I just got a violation, Chelsea. I'm going to have to drop you. And so he was able to distinguish that the two differences within the sexual orientation are that there are individuals at a far younger age before they have gone through the stages of Tanner who are male and transition and are far more feminine presenting. They transition to treat their dysphoria. They are still attracted to males and dress to attract males. And they don't desire to have any relationship with females. And then there is the other transsexual male to female known as the heterosexual transsexual, whereby they are far less passing as women because they transitioned much later on in life, so their bodies had masculinized through puberty, and they maintain heterosexual relationships. The doctor himself had spent over 30 years with these subjects, creating a typology to determine what their sexual motivation was within their sexual orientation. And it was reported by these individuals that they would engage in relationships with the opposite sex. So, because they desired particular characteristics or qualities, and they desired to fantasize about being that individual, playing that feminine role as well.
Ask her questions since she's actually here now.
Yes, Sage, thank you for joining. How are you
First of
today?
all, you know I'm bisexual. I've told you before. So why are you trying to say I say I'm a lesbian when I don't?
Right, because
You said that you come in my live, and I've even said I'm bi. So why are you even trying to twist shit?
right, well, that was before I had my interaction with you, and before my interaction with you, there was evidence that you had published on lives that you did state that you were lesbian.
No, there wasn't. I've never ever said I was lesbian ever.
Okay, well, we'll get that, and I'll pull it up.
Okay, that's
And
fair.
if I can't substantiate it, then I'll retract my statement. But I still firmly believe, Sage, that you are demonstrating autogynephilic behavior, and I'm being very honest with you in stating that I don't think that you are aware of it, because society is affirming you as a woman, right? Where
Aware of the situation that she's in.
I beg your pardon?
You said that she does it with, like she doesn't know that she's aware of when she's doing it. Like I'm so confused.
Right, because
How can you be unaware of a situation that you're in?
because like most people here, they don't know what autogynephilia is, and they don't know how that manifests. So, Sage, can you tell me a little bit about your experience with HRT, please?
Well, I'm just enjoying the process at the moment. I'm actually getting more happy within my own body.
And so, would you say you're feeling effects of euphoria as a result of that?
Pardon?
Would you say that you demonstrate or exhibit effects of euphoria as a result of taking HRT?
Everyone, well, sometimes I feel euphoric, not all the time.
Okay.
Sage, do you also not like get aroused on camera? And no, there's no videos of that.
I do not get sexually aroused in how I look.
Well, listen, like the Rockstar.
I never get sexually aroused.
The reality is that some of these questions.
Difference.
Hold on, Sage. Some of these questions are very sensitive in nature. It would require you to be in a very vulnerable position to answer honestly. And I understand that a person would need to have a sense of safe space in order to be that vulnerable and honest with ourselves. So I'm not going to be asking you those types of questions, but I'm going to be asking you questions that will help you to question what you are experiencing.
Can we be honest that this isn't a safe space, though? Like,
no, it's not, and that's why I'm not going to allow Sage to answer Rockstar's questions, because it's not a safe space, and I acknowledge it, and I'm not going to put Sage through that. All right, but I am going to try and light a candle. Okay.
Okay,
So Sage,
because she's here for the questions.
I
If she doesn't
understand.
want to answer, she doesn't have to answer. But if she wants to answer, then let her answer.
Not a problem.
Okay, so then in order for her to do that, you have to stop interrupting the conversation.
Yeah.
You have to stop doing that.
Okay, so Sage,
interrupting.
when I asked you about your experience taking HRT, you said, yes, sometimes you feel euphoric, not always, okay? You do understand that people who suffer from gender dysphoria and they take hormone replacement therapy don't actually feel euphoric. They feel a relief of their dysphoric symptoms. Do you acknowledge that?
That's a load of bullshit. Because so many trans women have said they've actually have days where they actually look at themselves and because of how they look, they actually feel euphoric in that.
I'm not sure that I've ever witnessed that. I would say that what I have witnessed is that a subject's depression is dissipating on that particular day because they are feeling confident about themselves, right?
Well,
So,
they're happy and everything. So yeah, that would be them actually being like when I actually when I actually very happy and everything that day. I'm having a good day and everything. Having that's when I'm actually feeling euphoric in that.
right. And so this is not common with individuals who are suffering from gender dysphoria,
So
okay?
you're not haven't had any dysphoria that day, and you're happy all day. I say that's when I'm actually euphoric. I was saying.
Right. And I understand that. And that could be like a consequence. Oh, thank you so much. That could be a consequence of you satisfying the internal sexual target that you may have. And again, I'm using the term may. I'm not accusing you of having one. I'm simply trying to get you to be open to the possibility that you do feel some effects of euphoria when you are in your most feminine moments or when you are feeling as close to feminine as possible.
No, not always. I've actually just felt after like a hard days at work or whatever, and just like when I've been dysphoric all day at work, I just got home. All I've done is just have a shave, and then I can feel just feel euphoric over that. Just a shave, and I still look when I could still actually look. Haven't put any makeup on or anything, so not really much attempts to look feminine there.
And you are feeling euphoric in those moments?
I'm sorry, what does euphoric mean? Like, what is it? What exactly?
An overwhelming state of joy and
Like
happiness.
stimulation?
Can you hold your questions until afterwards and stop interrupting on behalf of Sage? Sage is not, they're talking to Sage, not you. Can you please stop? Please. Go on, Sage.
And also, like, just because I'm euphoric doesn't mean I'm actually actually going to have to say how to put it sick or funny. Doesn't mean I'm gonna have use anything or anything like that, or even like I'm trying to put this TikTok friendly so that
You're good. You're okay.
I don't get any sexual arousal at all. There's no sexual, not even horny or anything.
But explain to me the feeling of euphoria that you were expressing before. So let's talk about why you feel euphoric.
Just I like how I just I say I could just I like how I look at say I just bought a new jacket or something. I just like how the jacket looks on me or something.
So being in feminine clothing makes you feel euphoric at times?
I was just saying a jacket.
Yes, yeah, but I'm sorry, is it a female piece of garment or is it a male garment?
Just a unisex jacket.
A unisex jacket? Okay. What else about your experience through transition gives you a sense of euphoria? So how does it make you feel, Sage, when you are walking in society and in public and people do affirm you and say, you look like a lovely lady today, or you look very pretty, or I like your attire, or your hair is very nice?
That just made me happy, that's all.
They make you happy? Okay.
Yeah.
And again, like I realize, Sage, that being vulnerable to answering these questions is something that's very difficult and challenging. And I just want you to know, like, Autogynephilia is just a term for the thing that this doctor observed, right? The way that it's being used is not the way that it was intended, right? And so there are individuals out there who are very comfortable saying that they are autogynephilic because they understand that it's something that they can treat. My issue, Sage, is that it is my opinion that you do exhibit some autogynephilic behavior. I am not a doctor. I'm not a psychotherapist. This is only based off of my own research and the subjects that I've been observing. And I have observed you for quite some time. And I can tell you that there are behaviors that are suspicious and
I
that
can tell
align
you,
themselves of autogynephilia,
I
right?
can tell you that no way do I ever look at myself and get sexually aroused over how I look. I may actually smile and be happy with how I look, but I am not getting sexually aroused or anything.
So none of us look in the mirror and be like, I'd F myself. Like, nobody feels like that.
That's different. Okay, Pink, I feel like Pink, you are woefully dumb. And I mean that in the
How am I
nicest way.
dumb? Like, I'm
Listen,
just trying to
hold on.
relate.
Listen, I
I'm
mean this in the nicest way possible. Someone who finds themselves, who gets aroused by looking at themselves is not autogynephilic. Ra has explained the definition of what autogynephilia, what an autogynephilia
Okay,
is.
got it.
So I don't understand how you are still missing the point. It's
Because,
not
like,
the
we all
same.
mastermate. Like, we all obviously turn ourselves
Okay.
on at some point.
So I'm gonna break it down for you one more freaking time, since it seems like you can't seem to
There's a
understand it in
listening
English,
problem.
and I don't really know how to explain it that well in French. So I'm gonna try to break it down like Miss Rachel. So everybody loves themselves. Sometimes we all like to, feel good about ourselves. It becomes a problem when you feel good about yourself as the opposite gender and you were born a male. Any questions?
But like, because a lot of the chicks that I've been into are straight, so there's been times where I'm like, damn, I wish I had a dick, you know what I mean, so I could date these chicks. But like,
Yeah,
it
but a
doesn't
lot
mean
of
I
the
get off
chicks
on
that
it.
you talk about have penises. So are you talking about actual women or are you talking about trans women? That was for you, Pink Razor.
One time.
What?
I didn't hear Pink Razor's.
We didn't hear the
Trans women as
response.
well. I do like trans women as well, but I
So you're
like.
bisexual?
Anyway, I'm gonna
No, Pink
leave
Razor
now.
is in a
Go
relationship
go
with a
and do
trans
stuff.
woman and believes
Sage,
that they're
sorry,
in a
1 second,
lesbian
guys.
relationship.
Sage, if ever you want to have a more lengthy conversation about this in a more private setting, feel free to email me at rawrealpodcast@gmail.com. All right. I'm more than happy and willing to have a discussion with you. And if you're seriously interested about learning, I can get you resources where you can learn about this stuff. And I already presume that you're going to therapy or some form of therapy. And maybe you might be interested in discussing it with your therapist further. But again, only if you're interested. My email address is rawrealpodcast@gmail.com.
Okay, so just to be
Thank
clear,
you.
Pink Razor.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So Pink Razor, I don't know how exactly you think that you can relate to autogynephilia because you're female, so you can't relate to autogynephilia.
Right.
So what exactly are you claiming you're trying to relate to?
Well, I just feel like we're attacking these people, like we're attacking people, and we're just like assuming this.
Sorry, who is we?
Everybody that's in here.
No one was attacking Sage. We were asking questions. Why are you getting offended on his behalf?
Well,
Nobody
we kind of
attacked
were.
anybody.
We were kind of attacking them before they showed up. Now that they showed up, everybody
No
was
one
kind of like being
attacks.
nice and being
No one
genuine. But
attacked Sage. How exactly are you defining attack? Because I don't think you know what it
I don't
means
know,
to
because
attack
they're
somebody.
making all these accusations against them, saying that they get off on all this, and that
No,
she's claiming to be
see,
a
No, that's
lesbian.
not what we
again,
said.
She
you're
literally
missing the
said that she's
point.
never said she was a
No
lesbian.
one said that. No,
You're
nobody. Hold
missing
on.
the point for the
I
millionth
kind of
time.
did say that though.
You could like I don't know. It's almost as though you could never. You can't even hit a barn if you were leaning on it. We've literally been telling you the point the entire time, and you continue to miss it. What else do you want us to tell you?
The
I'm not
host
going to
did
deny that I'm
kind
an
of
airhead.
Sorry, think freely. No one is talking to you. Go on, Pink Razor, respond.
No, it's okay. I apologize. I am an airhead. I'm not going to deny it. And
That's very evident.
I don't know. I just like when I hear these questions that you guys are asking, like if they get aroused by looking in the mirror, if they get aroused by looking at somebody of the opposite sex or the same sex, it's like, do we not all do that when we look at ourselves in the mirror?
Right, but
Like,
it
do
wouldn't
you
be
not feel
considered. It
bad?
wouldn't be considered. Well, so no, I've never looked at myself in the mirror and gotten aroused. I may look at
That's
myself and
weird.
say, "Oh, I look good," but I would find it weird if you look at yourself in the mirror and get aroused. That's just odd. So no.
Give me 1 second, guys, because I want to.
How is weird?
1 second,
I
Pink.
don't
1 second,
understand.
Pink. 1 second. Kate Clockinet, thank you so much for joining. You've been patiently waiting. What are your thoughts on the
He
discussion?
has spoken already.
Oh, he has?
She has spoken.
I'm
Kate,
sorry.
yeah, Kate spoke about the petition to get.
Oh, yes. My bad. Amanda, because I'm not going to say your profile name. Your thoughts?
Contest
I don't know.
Rex is crazy. Sorry.
There's been a lot of things today that I've seen that I'm like, yeah. I would say, yeah, I would agree that all of those people demonstrate very, very similar behaviors, and those. It's not like I say. I'm not just a person that only cares about women and that's it. Like I actually do care about other people, and I would say it's also dangerous to the transgender community. These people acting in such a way, right? Like I don't know. I just am yeah. Thank you for bringing light to it and making, being respectful when you talk about it. I think it's great.
That's what I'm trying to do. John, what are your thoughts? Thanks for joining.
Oh, this is Kydax. We're mutuals, but I changed my username as like a joke for a game I play.
Okay, all right. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, because in the game Helldivers 2, there's like a joke going on about some really powerful character called John Helldive, and so my character's like, my profile is basically that. It's like a joke. I've been changing my profile like mad lately.
Nice. Well, what are your thoughts on the topic today?
I think that the topic is very interesting from because I'm gonna be honest with you, like I'm not really that well educated on the topic, so it's actually very interesting to hear like different people's perspectives on the subject. Because I always believe that like getting like another person's perspective on matters is always a good thing. You may not agree with what someone has to say, but it's good to get like foresight and an understanding, if that means anything.
Absolutely. And I think it's important that we put this into perspective because I strongly believe that gender affirming care is not the mechanism that needs to be used to help address these young males who, develop these internal sexual targets. It's not by rewarding the internal sexual target, by allowing these individuals to seek gender affirming care and sex reassignment surgeries, because at the end of the day, the outcome and the impact of these therapies and treatments is helping deliver arousal and euphoric and excitement feelings. And this could be when combined with other comorbidities, we simply don't know enough about it. It used to be a closeted activity, meaning these males used to do this dress up and act this way in the comfort and privacy of their own home, and even oftentimes away from their partners. And now society has made it so that these individuals are comfortable and confident enough to start coming outside of their bedroom and outside of their homes and enter into these female-only spaces to seek ultimate gratification and gender-affirming gratification. And this is definitely not what we do when someone is suffering from a disorder. We don't affirm it, we treat it.
Yeah, I just want okay, so after what you were just saying, like for me, like there are like characters in like films and shows and stuff that I like, but like I would do all that kind of stuff, like you said, in the privacy of your own home. I wouldn't go out of my way to like do what you were just describing, because honestly for me it's like I have we all have private lives, all that stuff. So for me, in my case, it's like, yeah, like like for an example, I really like Chang Li from Street Fighter. I think she's a very cool character. But if I were to ever like cosplay as Chang Li, I would do it in the privacy of my own home because I ain't gonna go out and do that kind of stuff because it just wouldn't sit right with me, And it's like it's just like it's like a personal thing. I wouldn't go as far as like going out into public and doing that kind of stuff because it just wouldn't make sense in my personal opinion. Like for me, it's just I wouldn't do it.
And when we think about these individuals who, like Trish, for example, who is a recovering addict, I feel as though, and I feel very strongly about this, is that they're replacing one addiction with the other. And their presence on these applications is becoming more and more frequent. They've actually got multiple devices that they're streaming from. I can almost guarantee you that Trish is streaming almost 18 hours a day on 2 different TikTok accounts simultaneously, in addition
I'm
to
sorry, who's Trisha?
Tejo Trish is the first person in the to the left. They
Oh
go.
yeah, no, my it's really small on my screen. That's why I can't tell. Sorry about that, mate.
Yeah, no worries. You can go into my profile after, and I have several videos of them.
Of course.
About the AGP behaviors, and so it's individuals like that where I feel like it's a threat because they're replacing one addiction with the other. They're testing the boundaries, just like any normal addict would, trying to seek that ultimate high, the ultimate gratification, and the ultimate affirmation. And this is simply not how we should be treating this type of disorder.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't really know much about the whole AGB. Is it AGP, right? That's how you say it.
AGP. It stands for Autogynephilia.
All right. So I'm not like I don't have a lot of understanding on this whole like auto thing. So like I'm not really one who say I don't really have like an understanding of it. It's like it's still that unfamiliar to me. But I feel like some people seem to forget that like what you post on the internet stays on the internet.
Forever.
So like yeah, exactly. And it's like so like for an example, I do 3D modeling and I've actually made like a whole like different username to use for like my 3D renders and stuff like that because I wanted to keep my art stuff and my personal stuff kind of separate. And it's like even then, like if someone's clever enough, they can like figure out like, oh, this is who someone is and all that kind of stuff. So it's like when it comes to like the whole gyno stuff. Yeah, so I cannot pronounce that. So like when it comes to like all this kind of stuff, when you say like the ultimate high and stuff like that, the thing is that when it comes to like addiction and stuff, like once you get that high, it's really hard to top that high, if that makes any sense. So it gets increasingly more difficult to like get that high, and it applies to like anything really from like so basically for an example, let's say someone was addicted to chocolate, right? So they would be like, oh, this is really nice, and eventually we get to a point where they're eating chocolate like daily to try and get that.
They become Jabba the Hutt.
That's an insult to Jabba the Hutt because I like Star Wars.
Story of my life, though.
Yeah, but like I said, like with any addiction, like it gets increasingly harder to get that high until eventually you're spending like hours doing the thing in order to get the high, and it's like, I'm glad I don't have addictiveness in my genetics, but it can even affect me. Like it can affect anyone.
Certainly.
So
give me a second, guys. I wanna introduce Venter. I know Venter is opposition.
Okay.
Venter, thank you so much for joining. What are your thoughts, questions, or comments or concerns?
My thoughts is I still don't really understand what you mean by AGPs. I understand the self ID part, but not the AGPs. I'm still
Sure. So the
figuring
background
that out.
says self ID let AGPs into the LGBT community. So my first question, Venter, do you know what an AGP is or autogynephilia?
Also, I have a question. Where are you getting that statistic? Like, have you talked to people that are in the LGBT community
Stop interrupting every time Raw tries to ask a new guest a question. Like every time he opens his mouth to speak to the new guest, you jump in like you need to speak. Like, girl, relax.
I'm sorry, I'm bored.
You bored and fall asleep and find another live. I don't know what to tell you.
Give me 1 second. John, if you don't mind, I'm going to drop you just because I want to make the backdrop bigger. But I do thank you for joining, and come back in the request if you'd like to chime in again.
Just like every 3 seconds, you so quick to unmute. Like just shh. Anyways, Venter.
So Venter, do you know what AGP or autogynephilia is?
No.
Okay, autogynephilia is its origins are Greek. It means love for oneself as a woman. Autogynephilia was a term that was coined by a doctor back in the 80s by the name of Ray Blanchard. He was a research sexologist. He was the one that created the typology to distinguish the difference between the two male to female transsexuals. The first one being homosexual transsexuals. These were individuals, males, natal males. This only happens in males. But these males transitioned at a much younger age, or far more passable as women, because they did not go through the 5 stages of Tanner. There was some form of intervention. And then furthermore, they maintain homosexual relationships, meaning they desire to have romantic relationships with men, and they will dress to attract males. The autogonophiles are much older when they transition, Venter. They're far less passing as women because of the lack of intervention at the stages of Tanner, which is, again, puberty. They maintain heterosexual relationships, meaning that they seek out females, female suitors. However, they use these female suitors as self-gratification mechanisms to further their fantasies of themselves being women. So, autogynephilia is something that's been observed in approximately 3 to 6% of natal males within Western civilization and societies, and this would outnumber the number of individuals who are experiencing an incongruence between their sex and gender, also known as gender dysphoria. And so these individuals who are suffering from a transvestic disorder, one where they primarily do like to dress up as women, emulate women gestures, have physiological experiences like women do, as well as anatomical features, so that they can feel euphoric and fantasize and be aroused at the thought of being a woman. And so the difference between a homosexual transsexual with gender dysphoria who is being affirmed as she, her, is a means to alleviate the dysphoria, and AGPs who receive gender affirming care by the means of using their pronouns or affirming their identity results in them being aroused and feeling euphoric. Is that clear? Venter, you're on mute, my friend.
I think they fell asleep.
Oh no, I do that often. Welcome back,
Yes.
Venter.
I'm still here. I was still listening.
Yeah.
That's
So
why I'm
does
saying
that make sense? Do you understand the difference between the two male to female transsexuals?
No. No.
Okay, so one is homosexual, so they are male and they are attracted to males. The other one is heterosexual. They are male and they are attracted to females. Does that make sense?
Okay.
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 What's your point?
What's your point?
So The issue is that we have autogynephiles who have a paraphilia where they get aroused by the thought or reality of them being a woman. And when we allow these
Julia, doesn't that have to do with marijuana?
when
Marijuana's a different thing.
we allow these women, when we allow
Say spicy leaf.
autogynephiles into women's spaces, it is the ultimate gender affirming action for them, and they are being aroused by that activity. Do you see an issue with that?
Don't you think it's like a double standard though that girls can get bonus but it doesn't show?
Can you let the person answer before you interrupt? Because there was a question asked to the person and you're interrupting again. Subject, go ahead and answer the question.
Hello.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm their spouse, and I'm a trans person.
Okay.
And the whole
Nice to
thing,
meet you.
I listen to you with all respect. Why are you connecting trans to pedophilia, regardless of who the person you were talking about? I don't give a fuck. Excuse my language. Me, I'm me.
Yep.
Him, if he's a fucking pedophile, that's him. Okay, go to his grave, dig it, and fuck his corpse.
What are you
I don't give a
talking
fuck.
about?
What are you on about?
We're not
Thank
talking
you.
about
Like,
pizza.
hold
Sorry,
on.
sorry for the
No,
extra.
does your partner have a genuine question? And we're more than happy to answer that genuine question. What we're trying to do, and I hope your partner is listening, what we're trying to do is separate transgender from autogynephilia. Because these autogynephiles that are walking around in society are calling themselves transgender. They do not have gender dysphoria. They do not have an incongruence between their sex and gender. All right. They have a sexual fetish to present and be and act like women. And that has nothing to do with being transgender.
No, but I think that he was right though. Like he actually was right was what he was saying, because I think that you guys are just beating around the bush
So can
by
you
saying
let the
other
man
paraphilias or
respond?
whatever. I think
Can you let him respond and stop responding on people's behalf for the final time, please? It's getting utterly irritating now. Can you literally shh?
Okay, so
Go on.
Ventura, go ahead.
Jesus.
I do, how do I say this without I don't want to piss anyone off because
You're okay. Don't worry. You're fine, Ventura. I'm not
kind of
upset.
I kind of don't want to connect the
Pedophilia to trans.
pedophilia to trans. Also, is it because of their sexuality that you're
Well,
saying?
part of their sexuality has something to do with it, but what we're trying to do is break AGP away from trans, because I'll give you one example. The person on the far left, Tejo Trish, calls themselves a trans woman. All right, but have also openly stated that they're autogynephilic. And those two things don't go hand in hand.
Are they like a lesbian?
Yes, that's what they say they are, because they are attracted to women and they believe that they are women.
Okay, now I'm kind of grasping it.
Right. They're assimilating trans so that they can come out into society and sorry, does your spouse want to speak with us? Because they can talk to us. That's fine.
Well, it's are we talking about a bathroom thing? Because if that's the conversation, I think that should be a different conversation.
Well, I think that it has implications for sure, because as I read before, when it comes to autogynephilic males who walk into female spaces, it is very affirming for them and it makes them feel aroused.
Not really. It's just affirming their gender.
No, because you're conflating gender identity with autogynephilia, and those two things are not the same. We're trying to separate the two. You
Okay,
can't look at these
to
people on
separate
the
them.
background and say that they're trans. They're autogynephilic.
Okay, to separate them, make a bathroom for the trans, okay? And simply, those people who's pedophiles, when they come to our bathrooms, we can handle them. We can fuck this shit out of them. How about this?
Well, that's not the intention. The intention is to get them proper care and proper treatment. They're accessing gender affirming care, and that is not the appropriate treatment for autogynephilia. So why do we continue to allow autogynephiles to access gender affirming treatment so that they can feel euphoric when that treatment was meant to alleviate dysphoric symptoms?
How you gonna identify?
How are you going to identify these people? And
Well, that's why I'm doing the education so that it will better help people in my community and people in your community to call them out. So that when you go into a live and you see Trish, who is being autogynephilic but has a trans flag on their background, you, as part of the community, should say, that's not trans. You're not trans. You have something else, and you need to get treatment for it.
I have a question.
Yes.
And this question is simply: do any of you see trans women as women, trans men as men, or non-binary as non-binary people?
I see certain transsexual male to females in society who are perceived as women because of the tremendous amount of work and surgeries that they've gone through to assimilate what society's standards of a woman is. But now today we are seeing a minority group asking society to affirm them with regards to their standard of what a woman is.
But some of people,
Some people don't really have access to those things.
I understand. And we know several individuals like that who are not passable, all right, and who do not have the means to be able to medicalize themselves.
Especially over a certain time.
But do you know what those
with their
individuals do?
age.
Those individuals don't impede or infringe on society's rights. They take accountability for where they are in their transition, and they make the appropriate decision for where they are in their transition. And that is one that does not disrupt the comfort, dignity, privacy of other people also walking amongst you in society.
Sorry, can I ask, like, I'm still confused about...
Also, what about the sexuality of trans people?
Yeah, one second. I'll answer the gentleman's question below, and then I'll get right back to you. Sorry, go ahead. Think freely.
Yeah, I'm just confused about what evidence you have that these people on your background are AGP as opposed to transgender.
Yeah, well, Trish has openly stated it. I have videos on my channel that you can view. The other two are my strong opinions based off of the research that I've done, observing them and correlating their behaviors with the typology that Ray Blanchard had developed.
Yeah, but one of them came into the live and straight up said they never said that.
Yeah, and one of the things about Blanchard's typology is that he confesses that some of the people in the study are simply not being open and honest.
But can you sort of give me sort of what observations have you witnessed that?
So when it comes to Adora came onto this platform claiming to be some form of activist, aka educator. And if you're going to have a social media presence and you're going to build on that presence and be an advocate, then you better well make sure that every other social media platform that you have is consistent in the content. Meaning, if you're an educator on TikTok, you're an educator on Twitter. So he's an educator and an activist on TikTok, but he was a corn star on Twitter. One of the things associated with autogynephilic behavior is posting lewd photos of yourself on the internet and then being aroused by either affirming reactions or denigrating reactions. And so we've seen a plethora of Adora's lewd content. Furthermore, we also see that they exhibit anatomic autogynephilia. which is the arousal to having certain anatomic features or body parts of a female. Oftentimes, when they are challenged about being a man or a woman, they will grab their chest and their testicles and say, "Does a man have these?" There have been 2 occasions as well where Adora has been caught pantsless, bottomless, no pants, and has exposed their neovagina to individuals on their live, which is again another form of lewd act in a
Yeah,
public.
but I mean, lewd act doesn't mean AGP. They're 2 separate things, and I feel like you're sort of conflating the 2. Just
True.
because someone, you know, has corn content online like that, you know, cis women do that too. I'm not sure what the parallel is.
Another behavior is spending an inordinate amount of time in front of the mirror, all right, appreciating the different anatomical features of a woman that you currently have. We've seen videos on their OnlyFans. We've seen videos of Sage on their
What the hell
OnlyFans
are you
and the
doing on
things.
their OnlyFans,
Why
though? I
isn't
mean,
that
if you're going to OnlyFans, what do you expect to see other than nudity, and corn?
This
What's
is, well, you have to understand something, Pink. This is a transvestic disorder that is encompassed around arousal.
and do
So
you
if you're
get
gonna,
turned on by them or something? Because
no,
why
I
else would you
don't,
go into their OnlyFans?
because it is sexual in nature, and this is when they are exhibiting the highest form of AGP behavior.
But that's
Call it
I
weird.
don't
I
know
don't
anybody
care.
that is underage that is on that site. I mean, everybody that I know is consent, and it's
Are you saying that when Adora had their call out live and a man from the gay community came on and said that their 14-year-old nephew watches them and their 14-year-old nephew was pointed towards their Twitter account, that
who
wasn't
said that? I know,
problematic?
but I don't think that happened. Like, I don't think that they're like, "Oh, you're 14 years old. Go check on my Twitter." Like, nobody said that.
I don't care
And
about the circumstances, Pink.
but
All
can
I
I be
care about
honest?
is the result.
Pink is
And the
a
Can I
fact,
trans
make
the
can
apologist
I
fact
make
anyway.
that
That has proof
a
too.
quick
So
statement, because this is actually very true.
yeah,
I've
screenshot.
worked in healthcare, and I've worked with like children with special needs and that. And when you make accusations against somebody, and sometimes they're true, sometimes they're not true, even the fact that you just made the accusation, that can ruin somebody's life. Like, that could really ruin somebody's life. Like, they're basically, there was somebody that was with in the special needs community, and they made allegations at him. They searched his home, they searched his phone, they searched his computer, they searched everything, and there was no evidence ever found. It was just that one
yeah,
of
the
the brothers
Inquisitor,
has a
right? Are you
special need.
talking about the Inquisitor?
No, it was in Canada, in Winnipeg, actually.
Okay.
And this guy's life, like, he wrecked his life just because the older brother didn't like the worker. He basically, his special needs brother couldn't talk. He was deaf. He literally could not talk. Yeah, like, he literally ruined his life. He had all these accusations against him. They searched everything. They were going to press charges with he say, she say kind of thing. And they ruined his life. So I just want you to know that showing these people's photos, I mean, if you have not like heard from them directly, and not he said, she said kind of thing, you have to understand that putting their faces on there is just like as bad.
Well, what you have to understand is that these individuals, number one, are not even aware that they're experiencing this. Most of them who you find on the subreddits, because of the information that we release and publish and talk about, actually come to the realization that they're not transgender. They were never transgender. They were actually autogynephilic this entire time. One of the things that strikes me as very evident is Adora's behavior post-transition, where when we take a look at Coco, who may have been exhibiting some form of depression before transitioning, is no longer exhibiting that form of depression post-transition because they've alleviated their symptoms of dysphoria through medicalization. Now, the one thing that strikes me as odd, and again, it's not to say that this is what's going to make them autogynephilic, but the autogynephiles who actually transition and lose certain body parts actually become extremely depressed because they can no longer be aroused, and they can no longer achieve climax. And so when I see Adora recently being very depressed, I ask myself why that is. If the gender affirming care that they've been receiving and the gender affirming care that they are still on is not alleviating those symptoms of depression, which would be associated with dysphoria, then maybe they're depressed about the fact that they can no longer achieve climax. They can no longer be aroused at the idea of being a woman because they physically transitioned into being a female or
Okay.
a type of female. And this is
Okay.
common.
Are you saying that she's a threat? Or is that what you're trying to say?
No,
Is that she's a threat?
I'm not saying that Adore is a threat. What I'm saying is that because of what has happened politically and medically and socially, Adora may have accessed treatment that wasn't appropriate for their particular disorder.
So nowadays, I mean, the affirming care is more is being practiced more, and
But what's the
there,
model of care for autogynephiles?
I don't know what that is.
Right. And
I
would you
hate
say
when you
that
use
would you say
term.
that it would be a problem if there was a different schedule of treatment for autogynephiles
Okay, let
than
me put it
those?
this way: if a
Hold on, I
guy,
got to finish my question.
okay, yep.
Do you find it problematic that people who are autogynephilic are accessing gender affirming care when there is a much more effective care or treatment for autogynephilia that will end in remission?
I don't even know what that like. Is there? Do you believe in rehabilitation,
Yes,
or you do believe in rehabilitation?
absolutely. And what I'm telling you
Okay,
is that
because I
gender
don't. Because I
affirming care
actually don't.
is not rehabilitation for autogynephiliacs.
Yeah, I don't believe that there are specific people out there, like if we're talking about like pedos, I don't believe that they deserve rehabilitation. And I also don't believe that people that rape and unalive people are also don't deserve to be rehabilitated. But
Well, you're
it's just my
putting
opinion.
into question whether or not someone deserves to be rehabilitated or someone can be rehabilitated. So those are two different
You
things.
think that I know, but how do we know? Where are the statistics that are comparing these people that had a problem and then they tried to fix it and then they were deemed to be, you know, not a threat to society and they put them back
Well,
out
there's a
so that they can
20-year-old
do
kid
whatever they
from
want?
the UK in my server that I've posted his video from YouTube where he talks openly about his AGP experience, and he also talks about the toolkits that he's provided through therapy to try and reverse the internal sexual target and reward himself when he accomplishes external sexual targets, genuine ones towards women, not ones where he fantasizes about having certain characteristics, but actually appreciating the qualities of that person outside of their physical characteristics. So yeah, there's absolutely things that can be done through psychotherapy once it's been acknowledged, accepted, all right, and then it can be introduced with different forms of treatment. What my issue is that doctors are going, oh, you feel like a woman. Oh, you've got gender dysphoria. Come on to this gender affirming care schedule, when they need to be asking those patients more specific questions, spending hours and hours and hours to rule out gender dysphoria and determine that, oh, you're actually autogynephilic. And there are other tools that are more appropriate for your condition that will actually be more successful in you accomplishing remission. Meaning no longer
I do agree with you on that. I actually do agree with you on that. It actually comes down to the doctors, because most doctors, I will be honest, they don't sit down and actually get to know their patients and actually, you know, sit down and go through their history. They literally just want, you know, to check the box and basically put them off to somebody else, refer them to somebody else, you know, and point them in a different direction. Because a lot of, you know, like I'm just using mine. I'm sorry to use mine as an example, but like I have a neurological disorder, and like my doctor doesn't know anything about neurological disorders. So like she's always sending me to a specialist or referring me to a sleep clinic, or, you know, going back and forth. And like every time I go to her office, I'm like, so did you do the research? Like, did you look up my neurological disorder? And she's like, no, I didn't. And I'm like, well, then what the then what the hell? Like, then what am I doing here? You know what I mean? Why are you my doctor if you're not willing to do the actual research? Like, I can't even talk to you about anything because everything that I have wrong with me comes down to that fact. And it's sad, but like everybody, I know a lot of people that go through this. It's not, you know, my sister, probably out of everybody that I know that has mental health issues, she has the greatest doctor, because her doctor actually sits down and like lets her take the full hour, and she gets to go over her mental health issues, working, having a kid, having postpartum, all that. And like she gets to talk to her doctor. My doctor wants to check the box and kick me out. That's what happens every time.
And that's similar to most people. We're from the same country, Pink. So our healthcare system in my province is very similar to the healthcare system in your province, in that most patients with a mental illness or a mental disorder, unfortunately, if you're not going through the private care system, you're seeing a doctor once every 2 months for 15 minutes, and you're asked a handful of questions, and you leave that office with a paper in your hand. And that's not the way that we should be treating mental illnesses and mental disorders. It should require extensive psychotherapy and other forms of therapy to be able to treat those things. Truth, thank you so much for joining. What are your thoughts?
Honestly, I found it ironic when I heard the person saying about destroying somebody's life by assuming something about them, and it was just the same circumstance when I think you guys knew I was on Adora's live, and they started accusing me of essaying women and whatnot, and I was like, just imagine I had an open profile and my stuff was out there and people decided to take that information and go after me and tell people that I work for or with about that situation. They wouldn't care about the context in regards to the conversation we're having. They'd hear what they want to hear and assume based off of that, right? And I think with a lot of these people in this community, even the Emily girl was speaking to her, I'm not going to go too deep into that. They're asking me if my wife was an underage woman. And I was just, in my head, I was just like, if these people continue to keep on doing these things and we keep allowing for them to do it, this is part of the reason why these people with these issues get away with it. And there's people that support it. So I know what Pink Razor is trying to say, but at the same time, we're not the problem. It's those people, and we're calling it out for what it is. And because there's people that want to pander to that, we can't really have a conversation about what the issue actually is without getting silenced, shut down, accused of stupid things, and just having an actual conversation. So that's why I say to you all the time, Raw, you, Christy, and everybody else, I actually appreciate and I respect what you guys do a lot, because you're speaking about things objectively, not based on how you feel about it, the issue at hand. So anyways, I'm going to eat some food.
I appreciate you. Pink, if you're open-minded, and if you're on Reddit, please go to Autogynephilia. That's one Reddit. You can go to another one called Ask AGP. You can go to another one called My Partner is Trans. And what's really sad about that subreddit is that there are a lot of women talking about their autogynephilic husbands who are depleting their financial resources, breaking their family unit, destroying their children's lives. These women are so compassionate, and they are fighting for their marriage to the extent where they are emptying their bank accounts. They are trying things in the bedroom that they have never done before. They are literally losing sight of the man that they fell in love with. They are no longer allowed to be not allowed, but they are no longer even being aroused or stimulated by their partners anymore. And yet they're still going above and beyond to try and affirm them and get them gender affirming care when it's not resolving the AGP issues. Hope, you joined. Thank you so much for joining. What are your thoughts? Oh, you're okay. Sorry. You're on another screen. So I really invite you to start to do some research on the subreddits, just to see the different behaviors that are being communicated in those Reddits, the self-exploration of how they've come to the realization that they're autogynephilic, as well as the impact that it's having on other family members. I am in communication with several people who were in a very close circle with Trish. And I'm talking about a former moderator, and I'm not going to get into too many details, but I am having phone calls and discussions with these individuals about their experience through their entire transition with their partner, displaying AGP type-like behavior, and what the effects on their social life and other elements of their life have been impacted by this. And it's a very, very sad story. And so we need to bring awareness to this. These individuals are literally coming out of the closet now in the troves, because society is being ever so accepting and ever so inclusive and ever so affirming. And I'm just saying this right now. This is the line where all of you need to make it stop. You cannot let it progress past this point, because if it does, it opens up the door to Pandora's box of fucking shit. Hi,
Can I
Paul.
ask something? Can I ask something? And this is like on a personal level, and I don't want you guys to like laugh at me or like obviously you're gonna call me crazy, but you know, this I just like I dream of being like a vigilante. So like when I come into these lives, like it's not necessarily like I'm just fighting for like, you know, like people's rights and like the innocence behind certain things. But like I feel that like we should be pointing fingers at like other people though. Like I don't know, like we're pointing photos at these people if they did this or let's say they did that. And I don't feel like there's enough evidence to like call these people out. Like there's enough evidence of, you know, Donald Trump, and there's enough evidence of other people like P. Diddy, you know what I mean? Like there's so much evidence against them, and they have it on video. They have, you know, they have all this evidence, and it's like we're calling out people that
There's
were
no evidence against Donald Trump, which is why
actually there is. Yes, there
hold on.
is.
Hold on.
For my tiny diamond.
So Donald Trump's case with E. Jean Carroll, he was found.
I'm sorry,
Okay,
what?
but honestly, I don't want to get into the whole political debate. But the reality is that there's
But why is it okay for him to do it? He walks into Miss Teen USA, walks into their change rooms.
No one said it was okay
He
for
literally
him to
said
do
he would sleep with his own daughter if he wasn't her daughter, if she wasn't his daughter.
Energy for Adora.
He literally hit on a 10-year-old girl saying, I'm going to marry her in a few years. Like, how is that not?
Here's what I'd like you to do, Pink. I'd like you to reach out to me on my backup account, ask me for a link to my Discord. I'm going to point you to the area in my server where I have all the information, studies, and books by doctors regarding autogynephilia. Take a moment, maybe a weekend if you can. Learn as much as you can. Once you've done that, go immediately to the subreddits. Don't come onto TikTok and try and identify who you think it is. Go immediately to the subreddits and start reading the words from autogynephiles themselves. Start reading the words from the partners who are losing their partners because of autogynephilia. And then once you get a better sense of what it looks like, then go on to social media and then start to ask yourself, is that a behavior or not? And the more time that you spend observing how it is that they're going about it, what it is that they're doing, it becomes more evident and it becomes more clear. Again, at the end of the day, my objective is not to put a target on these individuals' back. My contribution to this fight is trans community and trans advocates need to be aware that these individuals are appropriating trans. They're not trans. Secondly, these individuals are gaining access to gender affirming care, and the gender affirming care is simply inappropriate treatment for the individuals who are suffering from a completely different disorder. All right. And that's my objective. It's so that those people can get the appropriate care, reverse their sexual targets from internal to external. All right. And this is probably the biggest reason why women are saying no to everybody who is associated to the trans community. It is because these individuals with their beards and their fetishes have been walking into these places, and women in society have been letting them in and affirming them. And
Because you're directing it towards the entire community, and you can't do that. If you like, do you know what I'm saying? Is that you're basically taking an offense. You're taking offense from the entire community by saying that they're using the washrooms and they're misusing the washrooms. When is that? That's happened 1 out of a billion chances. Like that's happened 1 out of the billion people. I'm sure there's a billion trans people. I'm not going to exaggerate.
Again, Pink, I feel like you're missing the point. If you read what the background says, which is self-ID let AGPs into the LGBT community, it is pretty much saying you guys created your own monster. You wanted
But they're
to be
trans though, so they're technically already part of the community.
No,
they're not trying to get
trans.
into the community. How are they
AGP
not
is
trans?
Oh God.
This girl is stupid. I
They
can't.
transitioned. They are trans. They cannot sit there and be like, "Oh, I'm a female." No, you're a trans woman. That's the
Okay,
end of
can
it.
I
I
chime in here,
can't.
please, Rob?
Yes, please, Hope.
I'm gonna drop because I have to get ready for something. But yeah, thank you for having me up, bro.
Thank you, Chelsea. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you, Pope, for joining. Please chime in.
So the part I wanted to bring up is that I do understand what Pink is saying, where the entire community is being brushed with this. And I just want, I get what you're doing, I get what you're saying, but I want you to understand that AGP is never going to take off as the tool to fix this. These people are cross-dressers. And I'm not saying Adora is. I don't know enough about Adora. But the other two, I would definitely wage they are. That person who went into the Planet Fitness bathroom, a cross-dresser. A lot of these people are cross-dressers. They're not actually transsexual. And one of the problems that we're having is that the word transgender and the word transsexual are meaning the same thing, and they're not. Binary transsexual people are the ones that request access to opposite sex spaces in order to fulfill their lives. Non-binary transgender people and non-transitioning transgender people do not need access to opposite sex spaces in order to live a fulfilled life. You're right, it's a fetish, but AGP is not the word that's going to do it. They're cross-dressers. And the way that it used to be was this. You could use the women's room if you got rid of your wiener. Otherwise, you were in the men's room unless you really fully passed. And then when they got rid of that standard, they just want to let anybody in. And that's where the danger is coming from, because you're allowing cross-dressers to pretend that they're women. And it's different. It's different because this targets the whole trans community. This part, like what this is, targets everybody. It targets all of us because there are not people who are going to be knowledgeable enough to say, this person is an AGP, this person is a homosexual, transsexual, so they're the good one. It doesn't work that way. The way that we need to go is this, where you have a men's room, a women's room, and gender neutral facilities.
Yes.
That way, everybody is good. That way, everybody's covered, everybody is safe, there's no more issues with it, there's no attacking, there's none of that. But you can't let cross-dressers say that they're women and enter the women's spaces because trans women are women. It doesn't work that way. But all I'm gonna say to you, because I'm not gonna tell you how to do, your lives and shit, but like AGP is never gonna take off because too many people are going to be worried about figuring out what it means and the scientific and all that. They're cross-dressers. They are extreme cross-dressers. And that's the way that I think framing it will get a little bit more people.
Hold up, Pope. I have a question for you actually, because
Go ahead.
A bit of what you said. What do you like? So you building like neutral bathrooms for everybody? Is that what you're suggesting?
No,
So
I'm saying
male, female, and gender neutral.
I'm saying that where there are possible to have some sort of neutral bathroom, whether it's an individual stall that's labeled for everybody or like a family bathroom or something, it's the only way to mesh these two things, because one side wants it to go back to how it was, but says they don't hate trans people. And the other side says, well, this is who we are and this is what we want to do, but they're not being considerate of quote unquote normal people. So the only way to find the compromise is to take away the part that's making it an issue, which is that cross-dressers have access to female spaces.
Can I ask you a question really quick? So
Yeah.
does cross-dressing go with like gender identity, or is it a sexuality? And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. That's the question.
Cross-dressing is a sexual fetish.
Okay, that's what I thought. So that's the problem when it comes down to it then. It's that people are pushing sexualities onto people and it's making everybody else confused, or it leaves everybody with a question mark, like, is that person trans or is that person a cross-dresser? Like, that's not necessarily what I would be thinking, but I can understand that's where they're coming from because it's kind of hard to differentiate. Sorry, I don't know. I'm trying to say differentiate. Like it's hard to tell sometimes.
So this is going to sound a little bit kooky, and I want you to stay with me because it just, when you think about it abstractly, it makes a little bit more sense. So just hold on for a second, just bear with me. Whenever they talked about like the 7 deadly sins and demons and shit, they always made it seem like it was these, pitchfork devils or these monsters running around. And I don't view it that way The way that I view it is that a demonic influence is a negative behavior or a behavior that negatively affects your life, particularly when you go too deep into it. And in America, particularly with economic disparities and people who can't afford to be who they feel they are, and I mean that anywhere. I mean that with people who want to be artists but can't afford to do art or don't have the time or any of that. So there are certain things and behaviors and traits that are innate to all of us. And I think people have started taking certain aspects of those and putting all of their personality and all of their identity into those. And sometimes those behaviors become dangerous. So like people who spend their entire life grinding and working, they're very much focused on money, and that's okay. That's not necessarily greed. But then you have the other side where you have people who are entirely focused on their sexuality and who they can have sex with because they don't have other stuff going on. So they take this identity where I feel good when I dress up as a woman, and they think I must be a woman. That's a cross-dresser. A transsexual or a transgender individual are different. So a lot of the issues and a lot of these things that are bringing these issues are about is because there's very little opportunity in this country to become something more or to distract yourself with something more than these demonic thoughts or these negative behaviors that kind of consume your identity and make you think you're something that you might not be, just because that's really all that you can focus on at that time. Does that make sense? It sounds crazy when I'm saying
Makes
it.
absolute sense. Makes
So,
absolute sense.
I have a
think,
question for you,
and I've
Pope.
been on,
Based on your framework of the three individuals in my background, we're going to kick the middle one out of this equation, but the other two you acknowledged as being transvestic, they're
No.
cross-dressing, they're
Yeah.
cross-dressers. Okay. So those two individuals have trans flags on their background, all right? Trans pride flags. What should either people from my community or your community do to combat that and say, no, you're just cross-dressing, you're not trans? Because that in itself is going to be met as bigotry, transphobic,
Right.
and all that good stuff.
So what you guys need to do is to stop caring. And I don't mean that in like a, you hate the person, like love the sinner, not the sin. I don't mean it like that. What I mean it as, I'm tired of people assigning labels to me because I'm using common sense. They can call me transphobic for saying that a man who's cross-dressing doesn't belong in the women's room. I don't care. It doesn't change the objective reality. So whenever someone is waving a trans flag, it makes me look twice at them. Because just like, are you familiar with NAMBLA?
I'm not.
NAMBLA is the the North American Boy-Loving Association, Man and Boy Love Association. And NAMBLA was an enormous thing where older homosexual males were attempting to make it legal to have sexual relations with younger men. It's NAMBLA. And they kind of took a back seat because everybody wised up to what was going on. But now from the background, they're changing it around. They're using alternative methods. So the trans community is right now being used by groups like that to push stuff like this. So everybody knows that there are laws being passed that we can't criticize a certain country. Does anybody understand that the precedent for that law came into place when they said you couldn't misgender trans people? That right there, the inability to speak, is a circumventing of the First Amendment. And now they're using that as a precedent to do other things. They're going to do the exact same thing with children consenting, because they're going to say children can consent to certain treatments, children can consent to certain things. That's how they're going about this. So the other two, they dress like cross-dressers. They act like cross-dressers. And this idea that we have to be perfectly open and willing to receive everybody, no matter what, is the problem. It's toxic inclusivity. You cannot be... Tolerance only exists when tolerance is intolerant of intolerance. And these people are intolerant of anybody who has a different opinion of them, even if they belong to that community. So what you guys need to do is to just stop caring. It's the same.
So are you part of the trans community?
Yeah, I'm transsexual. I transitioned 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Well,
Okay.
My only issue with the stop caring is that now that it's made its way into law, right, and into legislation, it does impact sex-based rights. And
It
so,
does.
how do we not care all while still fighting for those
Oh, no,
sex-based
I'm
rights?
sorry. I didn't mean stop caring about the issue. I meant stop
Okay.
caring about the labels that they're trying to attach to you. Stop
Mhm.
caring that they call you transphobic. Just keep going because, it's an insult from a nutcase. So it means nothing. Carries no weight. A predator is saying something about you so that they can continue to be predators. So when it comes to well,
That
we
makes
can't say
sense.
things or else we're called bigots or we're called transphobic or homophobic. As long as you're not spouting violence, that name calling means nothing. As
It
long as
doesn't,
you're not saying
exactly.
it
When
means
people say
nothing.
that I'm homophobic, I'm like, please, like, seriously, please.
Right.
Next. I'm a
Um,
lesbian.
and
Well,
then
listen, sorry, go ahead, Pope, and then I'm going to wrap things up. But
Sure.
I
So the
appreciate
only
you
thing that I
joining.
can say with fixing this and getting legislation and stuff, you need to start running for your local offices. You need to stop focusing on celebrities, buying the latest things, technology. Like, you need to stop focusing on outside shit because none of it's real. And you need to focus on your inside communities, running for your local offices, helping there. Because when you do that, you're able to make changes. And I don't want to give too much because there are 335 people watching and I don't feel like getting doxxed. But the reason that, okay, the UK is slowly pushing back, right? So when people are pushing back, they're able to push back because they've entered their governments. They have basically said, I'm tired of sitting on the sidelines. I'm tired of watching this happen. I'm going to get into the government. I'm going to get into power and I'm going to fix this in a way that's reasonable. I'm not going to allow this anymore. And that's what I'm doing in my community. And it's the only way, because sitting here and saying things, it's great, it's nice, but it's not helpful. So, and that's not an attack on you. I'm just saying, if people really want to make change, you run for your local governments.
Pope, I appreciate you being here and I appreciate the constructive criticism. If you would like, follow me on my other account, DM me, I'll get you access to my server. Pink, thank you for being part of the discussion. And Truth, I love you.
Thank you, Hope. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank
Have a
you.
good one.
Thanks to each and every one of you who participated in the live today, who tapped the screen, who gifted the panelists, and who are showing your support. For those of you who want more education and information on this, you're more than welcome to join my Discord server. If you would like a link to it, please follow my Shane DePayne account. If someone could please put that in the chat, Shane.de.Payne. I can receive direct messages on that account. I can't receive them on here. But if you reach out to me on my backup account, I will gladly send you a link to the Discord server where we can get you get your hands on more information about this. If you would like more information about the subreddits, please reach out to me. I will get you a link to the subreddits where you can, read more information about the people who are actually open about their autogynephilic experiences and their autogynephilia. And with that being said, thank you. I love each and every one of you. You're the reason I do what I do. And make sure to spend some time with your loved ones this weekend. I love you, but I'm going to be spending time with my wife this weekend because I love her, and I hope you'll be spending time with someone special too. Have yourselves a great weekend. I might be.
Hands up, fam. Have a good weekend, bro.
Happy Mother's Day to all the lovely mothers out there. You deserve it. Take care, y'all.
The females.